What's up everyone, how are you all? Today we are back with another blazing Naruto story. What if Naruto had a child with an Otsutsuki princess? If you enjoy, then please like, share and do comments. And also check the description box to original creator of this beautiful creation. A long time ago, a powerful demon fox appeared with 9 tails. With its powerful tails, it could smash mountains and create tidal waves. A band of shinobi rose to defend their village from attack. "We have to wait until the Yondaime Hokage gets here," yelled a bloodied ninja. Another shouting, "We can't let it get any closer to our village." The ninjas jumped and attacked the creature, risking their lives. Suddenly, a giant, red frog with a pipe appeared in front of the colossal fox. On top of the frog was a man with the Hokage robes and ninja attire. One great ninja was able to imprison the monster, but died in the process. This shinobi was known as the Yondaime Hokage. It had been 6 years since the attack of the demon fox in the village hidden in the leaves. It took much effort, but the city had gone back to its former splendor and greatness. With the help of their biggest ally, it hadn't taken that long, them being the surname family. The most powerful and richest daimyos in the world. The current head being surname Tsuchiro. He had taken over after his parents died in an unfortunate accident and left him and his younger 6-year-old sister alone. At the moment, both siblings were inside a carriage being taken through the snowy roads to the Hokage's building. The people moving out of the way as they were considered royalty more than anything. The siblings looked extremely alike, both having the same hair color, locks and deep eye color, orbs. They wore elegant and warm kimonos with white fur to keep them warm, and their hairs were beautifully styled, Tsuchiro's being much longer than the younger girls. "Why did I have to come, too, Onisama?" complained the princess with a pout as she stared at the older surname sitting in front of her. Tsuchiro's sweat dropped, trying to calm his sister. "Come now, name Chan. Don't you want to accompany Onichan on this trip? It'll be fun and we'll get to stay together for a while longer." Otsutsuki *, liar. "You'll be working the whole time, won't you?" She crossed her arms, the male sweating even more at her as she went on. "And usually you don't take me with you on your trips, so that means you have some ulterior motive, Onisama." Ma, name Chan. "You don't trust me at all, do you? That makes Onichan sad, you know." Tsuchiro fake cried, but the girl just humphed and looked the other way, making him cry louder. The young, haired male wouldn't say it out loud, but he was proud that his sister was such a clever girl. Being from the surname family and with the power she possessed, a smart brain and an untrusting character would come in much use for her. Though that did not change the fact that such a little tsundere as his cute little sister was painful for his little, youthful heart. "Sigh, you're always so mean." Once they arrived at the Hokage residence, the siblings were greeted respectfully at the entrance. A line of ninjas bowing down, the Hokage stepping from the center until he stood in front of the eyed royals. "It's good to see you again, doing so well, Tsuchiro-kun." Sarutobi smiled gently, his relationship with the boy being on a casual level as the two got well along. "Ah, it's been a while, Hiruzen-san," smiled back Tsuchiro and placed a hand on top of his sister's head. "And this is my cute little sister, named Chan." "Domo." Both men chuckling while sweating at her bland response. Finishing the greetings, Tsuchiro took name's hand and led her towards a well-dressed, older man with dark hair and eyes. "Name Chan. This is Jiru-san. He'll be taking care of you while I am on the meeting. Nay. Be sure to not cause any trouble for him." Patting her head one last time, the haired prince stood up and vanished with the Sandame Hokage inside the building. The young girl watched her brother's disappearing figure with a scowl, disappointed that he had to work and couldn't stay with her a while longer. Her thoughts came to an end when Jiru suddenly spoke shakenly, rubbing his hands together, anew. "Himisama, is there anything you want to do? Whatever you may desire." Name stared at the man in annoyance, eyes narrowed. It pissed her off how everyone acted towards her and her brother just because of their status. They were treated like royalty because of the influence they had. For name, it was even worse because of her unique chakra. "I want to go get some sweets." "Where is the closest store?" asked the princess coldly, glancing at the man with a cold look. Nodding nervously, the man responded hurriedly, "Oh, of course. Right away, Himisama." Wasting no time, Jiru led the young girl towards the city. In a couple of minutes they had arrived in a nice store and, bought a whole bag of candy. "Get out of my shop." The shop owner suddenly yelled as they were walking away and pushed out a young boy into the snow out of his store. Everyone around watched the man's actions, not doing anything although it was such cruelty towards a young child. On the other hand, they all looked at the boy with disgust and loathing. It was to be expected though, the 6-year-old was a well-known child in the village of Konoha. He was the demon fox. The monster. Uzumaki Naruto. "I don't need you here ruining my clientele. Leave and don't come back," huffed the owner and stomped back in the store, sending the boy one final scowl. Naruto stood up slowly, his scarf coming undone and falling off. As he went to grab it, the blonde heard the whispering between those around. He could feel their glares on him as everything seemed to turn dark. At that same time, Name had just come out of the store and had heard the commotion. Curious, she stepped to the front and saw what was going on. She could practically feel the heavy aura as she glanced at everyone. "That kid." Hearing Jiru's growl, Name looked at him hastily. That's when she noticed that everyone else around was pretty much the same. Every single person around saw the child as a monster and wanted him to disappear. The princess could not believe her ears as a look of disgust took over her face. "Demare, what are you looking at?" Naruto picked up his scarf and ran off, holding back the tears that threatened to fall. The people moved out of his way, not even feeling sorry for the poor child. As she watched his retreating figure, Name made up her mind and with a nod to herself, she picked up her skirt and ran after the young Uzumaki, ignoring the calls from Jiru as he tried to go after her but couldn't get through the crowd of people. The girl ran and ran, her breathing becoming visible because of the cold as she got tired. It became harder to run once she followed him into a forest, the snow being too high for her little legs. After losing his tail, Name ran for a while longer and looked around for him. Drained, she stopped and leaned against her knees as she began breathing heavily. Era, what do we have here?" spoke suddenly a kid, coming from behind the trees with 2 other boys. The boys grinned menacingly at the princess as she held her hands together against her chest and stepped back. She tried to hide her fear, but it was hard to when she wasn't really used to such situations. "Whoa, those seem like really expensive clothes you have there," said one of the boys. "Are you some kind of noble, girly?" The other 2 laughing, "If you got money, give us some." "Nay." Right, I'm sure you won't miss it. Leave me alone," spat Name, leaving her fear behind and glaring at the 3 kids. However, they didn't take it too nicely and glowered. The one in the middle cracked his knuckles, closing in on the eyed royal. "What was that? Who do you think you are? Trying to act all strong. Stop right there." At the male's voice, the 4 children looked in that direction. Standing there was a boy with golden, spiky hair and clear, blue eyes that glared at the boys surrounding Name. Who the hell are you?" questioned one of the kids lazily. "I'm Uzumaki Naruto. I'm the future Hokage." At that, the boys began laughing and mocking the young ninja, the future Hokage. "Are you some kind of moron? Ha ha ha. There's no way a wimp like you could become Hokage, Baaka. Prepare yourselves," exclaimed Naruto and made a hand sign, Bunshin no Jutsu. Smoke surrounded him, making the bullies step back. Unfortunately, the clones appeared completely useless, small and weak. The kids laughed heartedly at the failed jutsu, while Naruto's eyes became small in embarrassment. "Take that." One of the boys punched Naruto straight in the face, the hit causing his nose to bleed and him to fall unconscious in the snow. Forgetting about Name, the bullies surrounded the blonde and took his scarf, playing around with it until there wasn't much left. "What's up with being future Hokage? For being so why, let's take care of his red scarf." Once they got bored, the kids walked away, not bothering to turn around. Taking the chance, the princess ran towards the boy and tried to shake him awake. After a couple of minutes, Naruto stood up startled. "It's not over yet. This time I will bet on an awesome jutsu." Silence was his only answer, the boy finally noticing that the bullies had left and it was only him and the girl he had helped there. Finally remembering, the pain hit him once again and he crouched down in the ground, holding his stomach. "Ah, daijoubu desu?" Name moved her arms around in a panic, not sure of what to do. Not answering her question, the blonde stood up and tried to run off. Before he could, the princess grabbed his arm tightly and held him in place, looking at him angrily. Where do you think you are going? You are hurt, right? So stay put like a good boy. The ninja stared at her dumbfounded, his sapphire orbs locked on her glaring ones. He was expecting her to be the first one to leave him be even after what he did for her. Not taking no for an answer, Name dragged him along with her, shocking him. What are you doing? I'm repaying the favor, what else? This is my way of saying thank you. Her response surprised him greatly as he kept his widened eyes on her the whole time while she sat him down and began cleaning him up. Even when he winced at the pain, his orbs stayed on her. The way she looked so concentrated on him and his wounds was terribly cute, and having her face so close, Naruto couldn't help but blush. There, done. Smiled, Name, widely. Naruto scratched his head in embarrassment and gave her one of his sunny smiles. Thank you. That helped a lot. Then remembering why she had followed him in the first place, the haired girl rummaged through the wide sleeves of her kimono and took out the bag of candy she had bought previously. Here. They'll make you feel better for sure. Can I really have these? He exclaimed in happiness. Ah, I saw what happened back there at the store, so I came to give these to you. This girl just kept stunning Naruto more and more. He couldn't understand how she could be so kind to him when they didn't even know each other. Noting his confusion, the eyed princess explained, "Is only to be expected that I would aid a fellow human being. You hadn't done anything and yet they were so mean. Do you have any idea why?" The boy lowered his head, a shadow casting over his face. Shiranai*, I don't know. It has always been that way since I can remember. They look at you in disdain and fear, not sure of what to do or say around you. Picked up Name at his hesitation. They look at you as if you were some kind of monster who could take everything away from them in a second, but you have never done anything to make it seem that way. Ah, how do you? He was confused. She didn't seem like the type who had a life like his. To Naruto, she seemed like a princess from a story who lived happily in her castle with everything she could ever ask for. Name looked the other way with a frown. She wasn't sure if she should tell him. He could place her life in danger if he talked about it. Moreover, he might turn out like everyone else. Eating away her hesitation, she deemed him trustable and began telling him the story. I'm not sure if this is true or just some myth, but supposedly my family was formed by the sister of the Rikudo Sennin, the first ever ninja. She possessed a powerful chakra that was desired by humans to control the world. Unlike her brother, our ancestor feared what humans could do with the power of chakra, so when she fell in love with a human man, she formed a seal on herself. Her power and that of her children would be under chains and never be used. However, for some reason, I was born without that seal, even though Onisama was just fine. We have kept it a secret, but those who know the truth tend to fear what I could do, and I don't even know how to use it. Though that scares them just as much because they think I could lose control. Onisama consulted with some expert ninja and he told us that most of my power was still sealed away. However, the seal was weak enough that I could still break it someday. Name waited for his reaction in fear, not giving him a glance. What would he think? Would he think she was lying? Would he be frightened like everyone else? A part of her didn't want to know the answer. But once he spoke, she looked back at him in shock. Seriously? Kakoi? Then you must be pretty strong, right? The boy just kept launching her question after question, not even giving her any time to respond. However, his reaction could not have made her happier as she laughed joyfully. Ha ha ha. You're really strange, aren't you? I think I really like you now. My name is, full name, Hajimamashite*, nice to meet you. Yeah, I'm Uzumaki Naruto, the greatest ninja in the whole world. He smiled widely, pointing to himself proudly. That was the first meeting between two people who would change each other's lives forever. No one would know if it would be for the best or the worst, that was purely their decision. But whatever it was, it would affect the destiny of the whole world. You lost her? The roaring voice of the surname head could be heard throughout the Hokage's building and even outside. Juru, name's caretaker, cowered in the floor as he kowtowed to the prince. Tsuchiro could not have been more furious. He brought his sister with him to Konoha believing that it would be safer than leaving her home, but she went and disappeared, knowing exactly that there are people after her. Trying to think of what could have made his sister make such a move, he asked Juru while rubbing his eyes tiredly, did something happen before she ran off? Was anything going on around you? The dark-haired man gave it some thought, nothing really coming to mind, when then he remembered. At his widened orbs, Sarutobi and, surname, hurried the man to speak. Well, that boy was causing trouble like always on the streets. Growled Juru in distaste. That boy? Asked the prince in confusion. The Hokage knowing exactly who the man was referring to so hatefully, he means Naruto-kun. Uzumaki Naruto? The Jinchuriki? Now he understood the man's reaction. Of course someone with the kind of power that kid possessed would be hated by mostly everyone in the village if they just considered that. Nodding to himself, Tsuchiro sighed, having an idea of what his sister had probably seen. She is probably with the kid right now then. Stunned at the noble's carefreeness about him being with the demon fox, Juru gaped. Shouldn't Tiwi bring her back? Who knows what that thing will do to her? She'll be fine. Tsuchiro waved him off, a sad look taking over his face. It'll be good for both of them to meet each other. It was bound to happen sooner or later anyway. Hours went by and now the sun had begun to set in the snowy horizon. The warm colors mixed with the pure white of the hills made a beautiful view. Naruto was glad he had gotten to see it with his new friend. They had run and jumped around the entire forest, laughing the whole time. He had to admit, that was the most fun he had had in the 6 years he had lived. While they rested watching the sunset, had fallen asleep against his shoulders. She was so exhausted that she didn't even notice when Naruto had placed her on his back and began carrying her towards the Hokage's office, recalling that she told him that her brother was there for business. Walking through the streets, the sapphire-eyed boy could hear the whispering between the villagers as they pointed at his figure, some even making assumptions of the girl on his back. But as the princess snuggled her cheek against him and held tighter onto him, Naruto forgot all those people and placed all his senses on her. Soon enough they arrived at the gigantic, mainly red building. By the door, Naruto could see Sarutobi shaking hands with an elegantly dressed man. The blonde might be really dense, but anyone could tell that the man looked exactly like just older, with longer hair, and a male, though the latter was hard to tell with his pretty face. Hesitatingly, the young ninja called the haired male. Once the older, surname, looked down at Naruto, the boy moved his eyes around, prepared for the worst as he didn't expect the older brother to be like his younger sister. The Uzumaki shut his eyes tightly when he saw the man's hand coming closer to him, but then he patted his head gently, a kind smile on his face. Thank you for taking care of my sister, Naruto-kun. Soon after, woke up and she got ready to leave with her brother. Both children were sad to have to say goodbye as they were each other's first friend. Naruto stood beside the Hokage, his eyes downcast at the fact that the only person his age who played with him was going to leave and who knows when they would meet again, or if even. Feeling the exact same way, the princess ran towards Naruto and hugged him strongly. Nah, we'll meet again. She interrupted and looked at him directly in the eyes firmly. We'll meet again for sure, and when we do we'll play again and do even many more things together, Naruto. With that farewell, the children waved at each other until their figures disappeared in the distance. Their vow of meeting again lingering in the air. Unfortunately, it would be a while before they could keep such promise, and when they met again, it would be under very different circumstances. 3 years had gone by and Naruto and hadn't had any contact throughout that time. The boy had begun going to the ninja academy a year ago, but he wasn't improving much. To make things worse, the other kids were always mean to him and he had no friends. And his little talent in ninja arts did not aid his case one bit. As time went by without meeting his princess friend again, Naruto believed that by now she must have forgotten him. However, every time he thought that to be the case, he was reminded of their promise and her eyes that day, not allowing him to lose all hope. The truth wasn't that had forgotten or lied to him, but that the attempts of capturing her had increased and she had been kidnapped a couple of times. Tsuchiro did not want to take any risks, so he had placed her under maximum protection, the loss of the Uchiha clan 2 years ago taking their strongest force. Everything seemed to be just the same as ever. However, one night, everything crumbled. Screams flew through the halls of the household, the flames rising and turning the sky scarlet. One after the other, the people in the mansion were taken down by the enemy shinobi. They had come from nowhere, ninjas fully dressed in black with no headbands, giving no time to prepare before they spread throughout the household. It seemed that the former attempts were distractions to their true plan. Each time they had been distracted by the attempt, the enemy prepared seals all over the place. Said seals were now keeping most of the surname forces under control for long enough for them to be killed. Let me go. Name tried to fight off the ninja who had entered her room and grabbed her, but her small form couldn't beat a strong and highly trained shinobi like the man. She could barely fight a kid her age. After all, since birth, she had been spoiled by her brother and not allowed to do much. "Shut it, kid," growled the masked man, annoyed at the girl. "We might have been ordered to bring you back alive and with all your limbs, but we can still beat you up a bit." Contrasting his expectations, the hair-haired princess did not cease her struggle, suddenly biting the shinobi, making him throw her on the ground. "Arg, Anta Kuso Gaki, you damn brat." The man went to attack the girl who was still trying to stand up, blood coming out of her forehead because of the strong hit. However, the man didn't care and threw her against another wall. Name bit her lip to stop herself from letting the whimpers come out of her mouth at the pain she was feeling. She was on her floor as she struggled to stand up again, her limbs shaking. The ninja laughed sadistically at her pathetic state. Just as he was going to kick her again, a man quickly passed by him in a blur and stabbed him through the chest. "This is your payment for what you did to the Himisama." The shinobi stared coldly at the body as it fell to the ground, then quickly sprinting towards the young child. "Himisama, I am right here, there's no need for you to worry." The ninja was a handsome man in his 30s. He had short, black hair and purple eyes. He was Himura Satoru. Just like many others, he used to be cautious of the young noble because of her unique chakra. However, as time passed, him and everyone else got to know her better. Name became the beloved princess of all those in the palace, the princess they would fight and die for. "Sato, Ru-san, Himisama, please come this way." The shinobi grabbed Name and began carrying her in his arms, trying to get her to safety no matter the cost. "Ma-tte, what about Onisama?" questioned the girl. She had lost her parents at a young age. Suchiro is the only one she had left. Name couldn't lose him too. The Himura tried to reassure her, not knowing the answer himself. "It's okay. I'm sure the Uji-sama has been taken to safety." The princess did not believe him. She was good enough at reading people by now to be able to tell. What she did know was that Suchiro was the head of the surname family, the most powerful daimyos. The life of her big brother was a priority in such events, but at the same time, she knew her life would be the most important thing to him. Satoru ran as fast as he could, trying not to waste too much stamina and chakra, as then he would be useless when the enemy came for the princess. Avoiding any unnecessary battle and gruesome scenes for the girl's sake, the purple-eyed ninja finally got to the forest outside and placed her down. "We shouldn't stay here for too long or the enemy will find us." "Is this my fault?" Her low voice was hardly coherent as she asked, knowing the answer. If it hadn't been for his training, Satoru couldn't have heard her whimper. He looked down at the trembling girl as she hugged herself, trying to hold back the tears. Crouching down, the Himura patted her head softly as his eyes narrowed in anger. He wanted nothing more than to make this whole memory disappear from her mind so she wouldn't have to suffer over someone else's greed and desire for power. No. The only ones at fault are the bastards who would target a little girl over some unknown and ancient power. "Na-mi-chan." Gasping, the girl turned towards the voice and sprinted towards the weakened figure, her dear brother. "Onisama." The child hugged his form, both falling onto the ground. They just sat there on the dirt embracing each other. Meanwhile, Satoru kept his eyes open on even the slightest movement around after making sure that it was truly the prince and not a transformation jutsu or genjutsu. "I am glad you're fine, Name-chan," smiled Suchiro, blood trailing from his lips. The eye-eyed princess was not dense. She could tell her brother was badly hurt during the attack. "Onisama, what happened to you?" "Satoru-san, help Onisama, he's wounded." But the shinobi did not move a muscle, his back towards them, his fists and eyes shut tightly. Suchiro smiled towards the man. As expected, he could tell. Satoru had noticed the gash on the prince's back and all the blood pouring out. They couldn't save him, his injuries were too deep and the ninja was not acknowledgeable in medical ninjutsu. "Satoru-san, what are you doing? Help Onisa." "Stop it, Name-chan," sounded the prince's firm voice. "You are a smart girl. You know that there's nothing Satoru can do to help me now." "Iyada." Tears finally broke out as she refused to believe the truth. "I won't accept it." Onisama is strong. There must be something we can do. There isn't, snapped Tsuchiro, tears coming out as he hugged his sister for what would be the last time. There's nothing that can be done, Chan. My wounds are just that bad. I can't be saved. Gomen, I'll be leaving you alone and with so much responsibility. You promised that you would stay with me forever. Otsutsuki. Onisama Otsutsuki. Her tiny fists kept hitting his chest again and again, tears rolling down her face uncontrollably, Tsuchiro not much different as he caressed her head. Honto Gomen. I wanted to see you grow up into a beautiful and strong woman. Make sure that you ended with the right person and see you form a family with them. I wanted to shoulder your burdens alongside you. That's when the sound of steps and yelling from far away surrounded them. The enemy was close by, and if they didn't leave soon, they would be trapped. The Himura kneeled by the siblings, ready to receive his orders. Knowing that he would only be a burden and that with such injuries he wouldn't last long anyways, Tsuchiro pushed into Satoru's arms. Satoru, take my sister and run. Go to Konoha. Hiruzen-san will know what to do. With much hesitation, the raven-haired man gave a pained nod to his lord and grabbed the princess. Figuring what they planned, trashed around on his arms. No. We can't leave you here. Tsuchiro pressed his forehead against his sister's, his teary face smiling. I won't ever leave your side. As long as you remember me, I'll be right there. Don't you ever give up, Keep on fighting and fighting until the very end. As long as you don't surrender, everything is not lost, there's still hope. I love you, Imouto. The prince sent his subordinate a nod. Receiving the signal, Satoru stood up with the girl in his arms and jumped away. Looking back at her smiling older brother as she cried. Onisama. 5 cloaked ninjas surrounded the bleeding prince. His breathing had become erratic as his body weakened more and more. With his blurry vision, he observed each one of the men. What happened to the rest of your friends? I am sure there were more of you before. Urus. Acting all high and mighty when you're in such a pathetic state, Oji. Mocked the shinobi in the middle. Obviously the leader, by the way the others kept their distance from him. To think that you would have that many people. Even though we had planned everything, thanks to your guys now we're the only ones left. You underestimated us. Tsuchiro smirked. By the way the man sounded in his eyes, he was definitely telling the truth. The prince had learned how to tell such things, and he also knew that the shinobi had no reason to lie to a dying man. You guys are the only ones left after, Chan, right? What's with you? Scoffed the same ninja. Stop stalling and wasting our time. Tell us where the girl is. We'll find her sooner or later anyway. You won't, muttered Tsuchiro, taking something out of his sleeve without the shinobi's noticing. A paper bomb. Thanks, Satoru. Even without having any chakra, as long as yours is infused in it. Oi, what are you murmuring to yourself about? Growled the leader, taking a fistful of his hair color locks. Tsuchiro's eyes were closed, a smile etched on his pale face. His hand opened at the loss of strength and the paper fell to the ground. That's when the 5 ninjas noticed it. However, it was too late. Before they could escape, the tag exploded and with it went out the other bombs hidden in the trees. Surname. Tsuchiro's body vanished into nothingness, his smile of pure joy of being able to protect the one dearest to him fading with him. 2. Eye color. Orbs cracked open as the rays of sunlight hit them. Her messy, hair length, hair color. Locks spread around her head and covered her tired eyes and the bandage around her head. Groans came out of her mouth as tried to sit up, the pain from last night's event resurfacing the agonizing memories. Onisama can't be. She held her head tight and shook it from side to side, not wanting to remember and just stay in her naive lie. There's no way that Onisama is gone. I am sorry to say that that's the case. Spoke Sarutobi Hiruzen abruptly, startling the girl. Stared with widened orbs at the man, finally taking notice of where she was. By just staring at the white walls and curtains and the way the room was, she could already tell that she was in a hospital room. Her clothes had been changed into a hospital gown and her small figure was covered in bandages. Her eyes teared up and the princess began to sob, screaming out all the fury and sorrow she felt building up. The old man could just watch with a pained look, knowing that there was nothing he could do for the girl other than let her mourn. After a while, brushed off her tears quickly, leaving red marks under her eyes, and looked directly at the Sandaime Hokage seriously. What is the report of the attack? I want to know everything. Are you sure you want to speak of what happened now? Wouldn't it be better to rest for a couple of days? Sarutobi looked at her worriedly. He knew that some people tried to get themselves busy to pull their minds out of things they do not want to talk about, and he also knew that such method never truly worked for the benefit of the individual. Hi, now that Onisama is gone, I am the only surname left. It is my duty to protect and preserve my family's legacy, my brother's legacy. Her eyes stayed locked on the older ninja strongly. Hiruzen knew a couple of people stubborn like that. Once they made their minds up, it would stay that way and no one could change it. The young child wasn't going to back down and he knew it. He chuckled a bit, seeing the similarities between the siblings, Wakari Mashita. As is your desire, you are from now on the head of the surname family. The Sandame informed name of everything that had transpired at her home and who the dark-cloaked ninjas were, observing how she held her hands tighter. By the way her eyes flared up, Hiruzen could tell that it wasn't in discomfort or disgust after hearing the details. She was furious and wanted to make these people pay for what they had done to her family. For now, you should rest, name Dono, suggested the older man worriedly once he finished. I have the power of the first shinobis, right? A shadow covered half her face as the young girl looked down at her hands, her words cold and with no hesitation. That means I am a shinobi, too. Right? The Hokage stared at her with wide eyes, mouth hanging open in shock, awe. That's who your ancestor is supposed to be, and if the story is true, then you inherited her power. The seal is still not completely broken, but a great portion of your chakra has been free since you were born, and if trained properly you could become a shinobi. I hope that you're not suggesting that. The eye-eyed princess stayed silent for a while, giving the man his answer. Before he could object, Name spoke in her firm and icy tone that left no room for objection. I want to go to the ninja academy and train like any other shinobi. Join a team and go in missions, participate in the exams and fight for the village. Watashi wa Suyoku naratai I want to become stronger. Name, Dono, I understand that you are feeling guilty for what occurred, however, it was not your doing. Tried to persuade Sarutobi, moreover, if you do this you would be placing yourself in even more danger. I am in danger anywhere I go. Snapped the girl with a pained frown. There will always be someone after me and people will be placed in harm's way because of me. I do not want anyone else to die for me. I know that, child, but making a rash and risky decision won't change anything. Hiruzen placed a hand on her shoulder and locked eyes with her. Getting yourself killed won't do any good. Name glanced down at her fists for a moment and then looked back at the man. I am thinking it through. I want to become a shinobi and be like all the others. And in case I die, I'll leave everything ready. Konoha will still receive the aid from the surname family even without us alive. That's not the problem. I know, smiled the princess. I'm not planning on dying anytime soon. If I do, then Onisama's and everyone else's sacrifice will be for nothing. Also, she looked out the window to the clear blue sky with a gentle smile. There's a promise I need to keep with him. Hiruzen closed his eyes and beamed, knowing exactly who she was talking about. He distinguished that look on her just right. That was the way those two looked when they thought about each other. He hoped this time it wouldn't have such a tragic and sorrowful ending. Got it. I'll make the preparations for you to begin at the academy. Responded the Sandame, turning around to leave, and, name, Dono, you'll begin with the other students your age in the second year. After I teach you all you missed, of course. The princess stared back at him with bright, eye-color, orbs and a huge smile. Hi. Arigato gozaimasu Santa. The Sandame Hokage stepped down the hall, stopping in front of the black-haired and purple-eyed ninja who leaned against the wall with his arms crossed. The older man swiftly asking, how is the state of her seal, Satoru-kun? Said man opened his eyes, staring down darkly at the question. Not good. The seal that blocks her full power was highly unstable. If something like this happens again. Himura Satoru did not have to finish his words for Sarutobi to understand what he was trying to say. However, the older man was not sure if it was good or bad. On one hand, Name would be a powerful asset for Konoha and she would be strong enough to protect herself. But on the other, she would just gain more enemies and more would seek her and the children she might have in the future out to obtain their power. What will you do? Full name. A week later, the kids at the academy were chatting around before classes began like normal. Most of the girls were talking about Uchiha Sasuke, a raven-haired and dark-eyed pale boy, and how great he was. The boy being the most popular in his year for both his looks and exceptional abilities as a ninja. Not to mention he was the last survivor of the esteemed Uchiha clan that was obliterated 2 years ago. Said boy just sat silently by the window, not interested in anybody else and ignoring the glares Uzumaki Naruto sent him from the row behind his. The blonde with sapphire eyes really disliked the boy as he considered him his rival. Mostly over a pink-haired girl with emerald eyes that always wore a red bow, Haruno Sakura. To tell the truth, Naruto wasn't even sure why he liked the girl, he just kind of did. But there was something he couldn't really explain that bothered him, and that was that when he looked at Sakura smiling or when she got all angry, the boy couldn't help but think of the strange girl he met 3 years ago. Right then, Umino Iruka, their teacher with a scar over his nose and his auburn hair in a ponytail, entered the room with a child following him, interrupting all the chatter. The kids hurried to their seats quietly, none sitting by Naruto. "Okay, class," began the sensei, placing his hand in the child's head. "From today on, we'll be having a new student join us. She's not used to this and didn't go through the first year, but please do welcome and try to help her." Naruto glanced at this new student, not really interested, but that's when his eyes widened. He stopped listening to everything Iruka or anyone else said from then on, his eyes locked on her. "I know this is unusual, but please do try to understand that these are special circumstances and try not to pry," finished Iruka. That clean and beautifully made, hair length, hair color, locks. Those bright and cunning, eye color, orbs that seemed to stare through anyone's soul. That cheery smile that could captivate anyone. He couldn't believe it, but she never left his mind in the last 3 years. He could never forget the way she looked like a princess from a fairy tale, even with the comfier and shorter kimono she was now wearing. "Please present yourself to the class, Haim." At Iruka's cue, the girl took a couple of steps to the front and smiled, most of the kids blushing madly at how cute she was. "Domo Minasan. I am, full name. I hope we have an enjoyable time together." At this, the students began whispering between one another. They all, except Naruto of course, knew who the surnames were. They couldn't believe that one of them, the last one as they had heard from their parents about the funeral that was in process, would be joining their class to become a full-fledged ninja. "I know that it's not every day a daimyo decides to attend the ninja academy, but I've come with the same purpose as all of you. To become a shinobi and fight." At the princess declaration, all the kids shut their mouths. They all stared wide-eyed to the still smiling girl who stood at the front of the classroom. A girl who had quite a lot of power over the village. Even Sasuke was looking intently at her. It wasn't only the Uchiha, but every other kid that came from a big ninja clan of Konoha. Every single one of them, since they could understand words, were told and taught to protect the land of fire and its citizens. But among all, that they should never go against the word of a surname, and that they had to be protected them no matter what. Each one of them understood more than anything that going against that would be the destruction of their clan's honor, and now that same person they would have to sacrifice anything to protect was going on the battlefield with them as an equal. Unlike the others, the Uzumaki stared at the noble for a very different reason. That face, that voice, that name, it had to be her. Naruto knew that, but he didn't have the courage, for the first time in his life, to ask her straight out. What if she didn't remember him? What if she was another person entirely and he had just completely mixed them up? Then he would embarrass himself for eternity. But he didn't have to ask. His sapphire orbs locked with her eye color ones, and she smiled. Before he could say anything, name appeared right in front of him on top of his desk. Her body bent so that her eyes could meet his. "Hi." The whole room stared at her in shock. Iruka not believing she could move that fast after what the Hokage had told him. "I thought he had only been teaching her for a week after she was discharged from the hospital? Yet she moved that fast." Name ignored the gasps coming out of everyone else, many thinking that she would do something to Naruto, and smiled down at the wide-mouthed boy brightly. "I told you we would meet again, Uzumaki Naruto." "Yeah, you did. It's really good to see you again." Full name. "Naruto, why do you do such things? And dragging the Haim-sama into your pranks. You're really gonna get it this time." The yells echoed all over Konoha as a group of ninjas went after two certain 12-year-olds. Both kids jumping around the village, evading all the ninjas after them. Both were laughing heartedly, covered in paint from head to toe. We don't care. They had painted the stone faces of the Hokage mountain ridiculously, angering most shinobis in the village. Mostly so because it hadn't been the first time they had done so, and the council did not appreciate the surname princess affiliating herself with the demon fox, less so for pranks. You know what your problem is, you lot? Began name, with a wink, Naruto picking up. You can't do the things we do. Only we can. We are incredible. Dat Bayo. There's a problem, Sandame, exclaimed a shinobi, entering Sarutobi's office. Then another, Hokage-sama. Said man looked back at his subordinates in annoyance at being interrupted in his writing and smoking. What is it? Did Naruto and name do something again? Hi. They decorated the Hokage monument. Began one of them, then the other continued just as furious, and this time with paint. Sigh. Meanwhile, the two youngsters jumped all over the village at high speed, the smiles never leaving their faces. The shinobi followed them, somehow not noticing them hiding behind a cloth that camouflaged with the wooden fence. Once they were gone, the ninja students came out with huge grins. Why should we? Korra, both of You. Gya. Both kids jumped startled by the scream, falling to the ground in shock. Oh, we were found out by Iruka-sensei. What a pain. And we were having so much fun. Complained, name, with a pout, Naruto questioning him with a glare. How did you suddenly get here, Iruka-sensei? The question is, what are you both doing here when you should be in class now? And just like that, both friends were tied up and placed at the front of the whole class with Iruka scolding them, mainly the blonde. After 3 years of having a surname as his student, the brunette had gotten slightly more comfortable around her and the fact that he could scold or punish her like all the others. However, that didn't completely ease him up, and he would only do so when the girl truly pissed him off. Now listen, Naruto. You failed the last graduation test and the one before that. This is no time to be goofing off, Bakayaro. Don't listen to him, Naruto. Spoke the princess, clearly wanting the others to hear. Sensei is just jealous that he didn't get to have as much fun as us. The boy nodding, Sokka. Cue to tick marks appearing all over Iruka's face. We will have a retest on the Henge no Jutsu. Transform perfectly into me. Even those who already passed will take it. WHAAAT? After much complaining, all the students lined at the front to perform the transformation jutsu. One going after the other while the brunette Chunin graded their performance. Then came Haruno Sakura's turn, Naruto's little crush. Name couldn't help but glare at the girl as her friend sent the fangirl googly eyes. What's so great about that weakling and savage fangirl? Haruno Sakura. Here I go, chanted the pink-haired student, Henge. In a poof of smoke, the girl reappeared as a nearly perfect Iruka. Receiving the okay from the teacher, the girl cheered to herself and went towards the object of her love. Did you see that, Sasuke-kun? Unfortunately for her, the Uchiha just ignored her, going to the front the moment his name was called. Perfectly transforming into the scarred man in seconds, shocking the man. Oh okay. Next, full name, Haim. The princess stepped to the front calmly, the blue-eyed Jinchuriki cheering her on. The whole time she stayed quiet, being deep in her thoughts as she glanced towards Sasuke curiously. Name really wondered why so many girls loved him. After all, he was arrogant and rude towards everyone, but she didn't know why she liked Naruto either specifically. She just did. Maybe it was the same for those girls, though she doubted that their feelings were as sincere as her own with the way they acted. When it came to love, the hair-color-haired girl could be quite dense and oblivious. Surprising as she was so smart. The Uchiha didn't dislike her like the other girls as she didn't bother him. But the main reason was that since his childhood he has been told to protect and obey the surname family no matter the cost. He was not planning on dishonoring his clan like his brother did. In an instant, Name transformed into Iruka with no problem and went back to her friend. The teacher writing down her grade, slightly wondering if she would be alright as a ninja. In the last years, the princess had been an average student, not particularly excelling in anything. Even the monstrous speed she had used on the first day had not appeared again. It was almost as if she was hiding her true potential. Not dwelling on something that might be just his imagination, Iruka called Naruto to the front. This is a real pain, complained Shikamaru, being his lazy self. Ino annoyed just as much, and it's all your fault. Like I care. Naruto passed by, name, giving each other a secret high five, the signal that the blonde was planning to do something more than just simply transform. He stood in front of the sensei and did the hand sign, his chakra becoming visible. Henge. Smoke surrounded the boy right away, but in place of Iruka, there stood an older female version of Naruto absolutely naked. In a second, blood soared out of Iruka's nose and he flew away. You say that, but you were defeated by it. Though is it too bad it was a female version? Muttered, name, trying to hold back her smirk with her hand, irritating the sensei even more. As punishment for what they had done, the two friends had to clean up the paint on the Hokage faces. Name could have easily gotten away with it, but she didn't want to leave her friend alone and she wanted to prove that she could do heavy work too like everyone else. I won't let you two go home unless you clean that all up. Growled Iruka, sitting over one of the heads, watching them with a glare. His words made the two frown, knowing that there would be no family waiting for them back at their houses. I don't care. There's nobody home anyway. This is much better than going back to that lonely place. Amino Iruka stared down at them sadly, understanding the pain of losing your whole family just fine. Naruto. Name, what is it this time? Grumped the Uzumaki, more than pissed at the whole thing and having his teacher keep bothering him while he does his work. The brunette looked to the side, muttering bashfully to both of them, what I meant was, if you clean up all that mess, I'll buy you ramen tonight. Yoshi, I will finish it no time. Like hell you will, Naruto. I will finish first. No, I will. Just as promised, the moment the two troublemakers finished up cleaning, Iruka brought them to Ichiraku's to get some ramen as a treat. The small stand was of the best quality and the greatest thing was that the owner did not treat the two unique children any different than any other client. On the contrary, he was always kind, even when the boy could not pay. For those reasons, Ichiraku's was their favorite place and they went there every time they could. Giving it some thought, the Chunin decided to finally ask, name. Naruto, why did you vandalize those faces? Don't you know who the Hokage leaders are? Of course we do, sensei. Naruto is not that oblivious, you know. Replied the princess, squinting her eyes at the man, and with my position, that is something I should know as soon as I learn to talk. The blonde sipped the bowl and finished it, finishing the explanation to Iruka as it was more because of him than his best friend. I know they earned the title Lord Hokage because they were the best shinobi of their time, right? Especially the Yondaime Hokage was a hero who saved the village from the Kyuubi no Yoko. Then why did you do that? Asked the man, still confused. Because I'll become a Hokage myself. And I'll be the greatest Hokage of all time. So that everyone will finally learn to accept me. Iruka stared at the blonde dumbfounded. He thought Naruto just joked around, but he had a pretty serious dream. Name rested her head on her hands with a smile. She wished that life could stay like this forever, however she knew better. And then I'll have Name as my assistant. He grinned widely, only to receive a punch over the head. Baka, I'm already part of the council. There's no way I'll become your assistant. I would be the one doing all the work in the first place. How mean, pouted the boy, rubbing his head. And as if nothing happened he was quite used to it, he directed his attention towards his teacher. By the way, sensei, I have a favor to ask. You want another bowl? Assumed Iruka, but Naruto wanted something else entirely. No, can I borrow that leaf headband for a while? The scarred brunette held his headband with a beam. Dame. This is worn only by those who have graduated from the ninja academy. Tomorrow, you will. You're so mean. Hearing that, Name growled at the boy, you can't, Naruto. You promised we would do it together. You cheater. Iruka chuckled at the two, so that's why you took off your goggles. Humph, one more bowl please. We are now about to begin the graduation test. Announced Iruka the next day, reading off a document. When your name is called, proceed to the next classroom. The test is on the Bunshin no Jutsu. Oh no, that is my weakest jutsu. Naruto sweated at the news, holding his head in desperation. When it came to clones, he hadn't improved much since that embarrassing time when he met his best friend. Name looked at the blonde worriedly. This wasn't good. The Uzumaki had a lot of talent, but his chakra control was an absolute mess. He always used too much or too little, ruining the jutsu. If you get too nervous then you will definitely fail. She tried to reassure, patting his head with a smile. You are stronger than you think. You are going to be Hokage after all, right? I believe in you, even if no one else does, Naruto. Naruto stared at name with widened sapphire orbs, cheeks blushing. Yeah. I will definitely become Hokage. Dat Bayo. Just watch me. I will. That's when the princess was called in for the test, interrupting their conversation. Name frowned slightly, still highly concerned for her friend, knowing that if he didn't pass and become a ninja, the pain would consume him whole. Okay, Name, whenever you're ready. Make 3 perfect clones of yourself, said Iruka the moment the girl stood in front of him and Mizuki. With a simple nod, the eye-eyed daimyo made the correct hand sign. In a poof of smoke, 4 names stood in a line. Seeing no mistakes, Iruka smiled softly. Good job. You can take a headband now. Feeling excitement rising inside her, the princess quickly stepped towards the table with a beam. Taking one of the headbands, she caressed it gently. She was one step closer to becoming stronger. Now that she was an actual ninja, Name could learn more advanced techniques with no restrictions. Arigato, Iruka-sensei. She bowed, said brunette smiling back at her, and ran off. Once she got outside, her face darkened a bit at the sight of all the joyous families congratulating the new ninjas. Her hold on the headband tightened, remembering that horrible night 3 years ago. Congratulations. It seems you passed. Name turned around at the voice, startled, but extremely happy. Satoru-san. There stood in all his glory Himura Satoru, the man who had brought her to Konoha. His raven hair had grown and was now tied in a ponytail, and his purple eyes were a tad gentler, which only occurred while in her presence. But unlike 3 years ago, now he wore Konoha's shinobi uniform. After the whole incident, the Himura became an official Konoha shinobi. Officially, he just wanted a position that would allow him to keep an eye on the surname head once she graduated. And officially, he was a spy for said head. His orders were simply to keep watch over the council, mainly those who did not trust her with the important position and those who wanted to bring harm to Naruto. Satoru's main focus being Shimura Danzo. You are back from your mission, cheered the girl after greatly missing the man. Not showing much emotion, the black-haired ninja patted her head. I'll be leaving soon again, so don't get too excited. I just came to congratulate you on passing. And how did you know I would pass, Tilda? She teased him, the man looking the other way to hide his blush and annoyance. After how much you trained, it would be impossible for you to not pass. You're way too smart to fail such a simple test. Her eyes and mouth widened in shock. Getting over her surprise, Name beamed at the man. Thanks for believing in me, Satoru-san. Then noticing the Hokage and Iruka, they began to walk over to them, when the princess saw a depressed Naruto sitting by the swing alone. You go first. I'll see you guys in a bit. Not explaining, the princess sprinted towards her friend, hearing the whispers between some of the present parents. Serves him right. Imagine what would happen if he became a shinobi. Isn't he the boy who is actually? The boy who is actually? Dare? Who? Both women turned around towards the glaring Name in fear. They stuttered, trying to come up with an excuse, but failing miserably. They both knew perfectly who she was after all. You know nothing of what you are talking about, so shut your filthy mouths, growled the girl, pushing the women out of her way and going towards Naruto. She stood beside him silently, her shadow and steps gaining his attention. Name. You passed. That's good, Datbayo. Please do not act strong in front of me. She frowned, understanding more than anyone, even him, how much he wanted to pass the test and become a ninja. Knowing that he couldn't lie to her, Naruto looked down miserably. He really messed up this time. Now his first and only friend would move on with her life and begin going on missions with a team. Who knows when he would be able to meet her again? Gomen, it seems I'm not going to be keeping our deal, muttered the boy. Furious, Name slapped both hands on his cheeks, holding his head in place. Baka. Don't just give up like that. You can definitely still become a shinobi and then Hokage. There was no guarantee that we would be on the same team anyway. So, don't give up, ever. Their eyes stayed locked on one another, until Naruto cracked a grin. Ah. I will become Hokage. Datbayo. Their chat came to an end when Mizuki appeared in front of them with a gentle smile. Sumimasen, Haim-sama. But could I have a word with Naruto-kun for a moment? Name stared at the albino suspiciously, not wanting to leave her friend with such a character, but having no choice as she had to get back to work. The princess left them alone. Sending the blonde a wave and a simple goodbye, she walked off to where Satoru waited for her with Sarutobi and Iruka. Once there, the four of them kept their eyes on Naruto and Mizuki intently. "We need to talk later." That night, Uzumaki Naruto stole the scroll of sealing, angering most ninjas in the village. Knowing the predicament of the situation, the Sandame ordered his subordinates to bring Naruto to him at once. Amino Iruka jumped all over the village in search of his student, having no idea of where to find him. "Where are you, Naruto?" "That's right." Name. Believing her to be his best chance of finding the boy before anyone else, Iruka sprinted towards the surname mansion at the outskirts of the village. Meanwhile, the princess was still wide awake, signing a whole mountain of paperwork after a bothersome meeting with some fools who thought they could lie to her, oblivious to what was going on back at the village. Her mansion in Konoha was a bit farther from the rest of the village, near the forest, so she did not hear the huge commotion. Furthermore, there was no time to go inform her at the moment. She might hold a powerful position, but the surnamed were not informed of everything that transpired. Her meeting with the Hokage after the graduation kept running through her mind. Both her and Hiruzen were suspicious of Mizuki and believed he was not loyal to Konoha anymore. The fact that he neared Naruto and tried to act all kind looked fishy. He was planning something and it seemed it involved the carrier of the demon fox, and that worried her more than anything. Name's concentration was broken by the soft knocking on her door. Once she said the word, a servant came in and bowed, not looking up as they talked. "Hime-sama. There is a man by the door who desires to speak with you. He says that he is your name, Hime." "I need to speak with you," interrupted Iruka, barging through the door much to the noble's shock, the servant trying to hold him back. "You can't be here." "It's okay. You may go," ordered Name with a wave. Still hesitant, the servant left with a final bow. Not giving her time to ask anything, Iruka asked in desperation, "Have you seen Naruto, Hime? Do you have any idea where he might be now?" "Naruto? I have no idea." The princess was confused at this, but seeing how the brunette grew distressed at her answer, a sudden wave of fear consumed her. Did something happen to him? The Chunin wasn't too sure if he should tell her, but knowing that she would find out sooner or later, he explained, "Naruto sneaked in the Hokage's office and stole the Fuin no Sho. Everyone is looking for him, but we have no idea where he might be." Name could feel the horror growing in her. She knew Naruto and how many foolish things he did, however, she knew that he wouldn't do that because he wouldn't even know what the scroll is. Someone must have convinced him to do it, and whoever they were would most probably kill him the moment they get the scroll. Filled with rage for this person, Name stood up and walked out the door swiftly, not bothering on changing from her formal kimono. Not sure of what to do, Iruka opted for following the girl who knew Naruto the best. "Where are we going?" Name asked the brunette in confusion the moment they stepped out the property into the entrance to the woods. "I may not know where he is, but I can find out." The princess placed her hands together as if praying. Just then, a bright and blue chakra covered the girl's body, making Iruka step back from her in amazement. He had heard of her unique chakra, but he never expected it to be this beautiful. In just seconds, Name opened her eyes and stood back straight. "Ikuso." Not giving an explanation, the eye-eyed girl jumped from tree to tree. Trusting that she knew what she was doing, the teacher followed in silence, a drop of sweat falling down his face. Somewhere deep in the forest, Naruto laid on the ground covered in dirt and sweat with the scroll on his back. He was panting and tired after training for so long, more so when it was the multi-shadow clone jutsu. "Hey you, Naruto." The Uzumaki looked back at his teacher with a grin, quite proud of himself. Then, he became astonished the moment Name hugged him tightly. "Name. What are you doing here, too? Baka, what did you do?" she scolded, tears threatening to fall. Not understanding the situation he was in, the Jinchuriki chuckled as he stood up with his friend. "Ha ha ha. You found me, and I've only learned one jutsu." He's been practicing the jutsu until he's become this exhausted and dirty. The two of them stared at Naruto in shock, thinking the same. Listen, I'm gonna show you this amazing jutsu. You're gonna let me graduate if I can do it. Isn't it true that I can graduate if I can do one of the jutsu written here?" blabbered Naruto non-stop in happiness. Both of them stared at the boy dumbfounded. It seemed that Name's theory was right on point. Iruka did not like the way this was going at all. "Who told you that?" Mizuki-sensei, responded the blonde with no hesitation. He told me about this scroll and this place. Mizuki did? Suddenly, kunai flew from the trees towards them. Hurriedly, Iruka pushed both his students out of the way, getting hit by a couple of them. I'm impressed you found this place. Mizuki's voice echoed as he stood on top of a tree. The brunette grunted in pain, coming to the horrible realization. I see now how it is. Not trying to keep his facade anymore, the albino ordered in an icy tone, Naruto, give me that scroll. Wait, what's going on here? Asked Naruto, sitting on the ground more than confused. Name placed a hand on his shoulder. He lied. He used you to get the scroll and planned to run away with it and place all the blame on you. Iruka took out one of the kunai embedded on him and spoke firmly. You can never give him that scroll no matter what. It is a dangerous object that contains forbidden ninjutsu sealed within it. Just as Name said, he used you in order to get his hands on it. At his teacher's words, Naruto stood in a fighting position, more than ready to get his revenge. Naruto. Iruka and the Hime are only afraid of you holding that scroll. Began Mizuki, his words causing said people to panic and Naruto to look at them in puzzlement. Name had a good idea in what the traitor was trying to say. He wanted to turn them against each other so that it would be easier to take the scroll. Stop fooling around, Mizuki. Don't listen to him, Naruto. He is only trying to fool you. Ha ha ha, I will tell you the truth. Baka, don't do that, yelled Iruka at his words. But Mizuki just ignored them and continued, 12 years ago. You know about the demon fox being sealed, right? Since that incident, a new rule was created for this village. That is, Naruto, a rule everybody but you know. Except me? What is this rule? Why? Questioned the boy. The rule forbids anyone from revealing that you are actually the demon fox spirit. Huh? Naruto could not believe what he was hearing. It had to be a lie. He could feel his whole world crashing and breaking into pieces at every word that spilled out of Mizuki's mouth. With an evil smirk, the man continued, it means that you are the Kyuubi no Yoko that killed Iruka's parents and destroyed the village. Yamera, you were sealed up by the Hokage you admire and you have been lied to by everyone. Didn't you find it odd how everyone hated you? Damn it, damn it, damn it. His anger kept increasing so much that his chakra became visible, spiraling around him strongly. The Hime and Iruka are the same. They actually hate you. Nobody will ever accept you. Mizuki took out the giant shuriken tied on his back and threw it towards the boy. Shinyu, die, Naruto. In a split second, Name pushed Naruto against the ground, covering him completely with her body. Just as the weapon fell over them, Iruka stood on its way, the shuriken piercing him through the symbol on his back. Both 12 years old stared at him in dread, blood from his mouth falling over them. Name became paralyzed, Iruka's and her brother's faces mixing together. The memory trapping her in her mind, blocking her from the real world and danger. Naruto couldn't really tell what he was feeling right now. He was worried for the man, but at the same time, he did not understand why he would protect the demon fox after what he just heard. Why? Because you and I are the same. After my parents died, nobody paid attention to me or gave me any support. I wasn't a good student in school. I was the class clown, because I wanted people to notice me. I couldn't get noticed through excellence, so I kept doing stupid things. It was so painful. Tears ran down his face as he looked directly at the boy. Isn't that right, Naruto? You felt so lonely, right? And you suffered inside, right? Gomen na, Naruto. If I had been more responsible, maybe you wouldn't have suffered so much. Haha, don't make me laugh, yelled Mizuki, tired of the whole thing. Iruka has always hated you, ever since you killed his parents. He's just saying all that to get the Fuin no Sho back. Giving it some thought, Naruto grabbed Name's hand and ran off into the dark, ignoring the calls from his sensei. His eyes set in front of him with a glare. In the meantime, the ninjas back at the village were prepared to kill Naruto once they found him. While the Sandaime Hokage used his Tomagain no Jutsu to observe the whole event in his crystal ball. Mizuki has told him. Now Naruto is afraid like never before. Mumbled Hiruzen, seeing the boy dragging the princess alongside him. He might unleash the power locked up inside him. The Fuin no Sho is now with him. There's a slight chance he might actually release the Kyuubi no Kitsune sealed inside him. And who knows how that might affect Name's own seal. If that happens. After gaining some distance, Naruto stopped and tried to regain his breathing as he leaned against a tree. Feeling his hold on the small wrist, he remembered how he brought the hair-haired princess along with him. He kept telling himself that he had no idea why he brought her with him after all that it was just a reflex after all the pranks they did together. However, he knew the real reason. Even if Name betrayed him or tried to kill him, he would probably not hate her at all. No matter what she did, Naruto would always stay by her side and go after her to try to bring her back. The blonde turned towards her, noting how silent and still she had been the whole time. Name. Oi, are you okay? Wake up. Naruto grabbed her shoulders and shook her after receiving no response. That's when he noticed the horrified look on her face and her lifeless eyes. Desperate to bring her back to normal, the boy called her name again and again. Oni-sama. The princess looked at her surrounding, seeing only Naruto and sighed in relief. She tried to breathe normally, the memory still haunting her. Name was not bothered by blood or death, she was used to it. Such a thing had become a part of her everyday life since she became the head of the surname, and if she wanted to be a ninja she couldn't fear it. However, the way Iruka looked with blood trailing down his lips and crying, the way he had protected them, and the fact they were in a forest in the middle of the night, it resembled her brother's death way too much. Seeing her going back to normal, the blonde wasn't sure of what to say. She was dear to him, but he wondered if what Mizuki had said was the truth, that she actually hated him and didn't care for him like everybody else. Noting his silence, Name began speaking softly, just staring at his back. Mizuki was partially right. You are the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi who attacked Konoha 12 years ago. I knew the truth when we met again at the academy and didn't tell you. Not turning back, the sapphire-eyed blonde asked, then, it is also true that you hated me from the beginning. No, she rejected right away, shaking her head, it was never a lie. In a flash, Name pushed Naruto behind a tree, cutting herself off. She placed a hand over his mouth and when he tried to protest. Suddenly, Iruka fell from the trees, Naruto coming with him. Seeing that the real one understood why she pushed him, Name took off her hand and lowered her body beside him to cover better. To what the boy blushed as hell. It can't be. Why is it, Naruto? How did you know I wasn't Iruka? He changed into Mizuki, glaring at Naruto, who was sitting against a tree. Naruto chuckled at the albino, transforming into the actual sensei, because I'm Iruka. Smirking, Mizuki stood back up, Naruhodo. What's in it for you to protect the one who killed your family? Not noticing them hiding behind a nearby tree, Iruka responded firmly, I'm not gonna let a stupid idiot like you get that scroll. Naruto's grip on the scroll tightened as they continued to speak. You're the idiot. Naruto is the same as me. At Iruka's questioning gaze, the man continued, if you use the skills in that scroll, you can do whatever you want. There is no way that monster, that fox spirit, won't take advantage of the power of that scroll. He will use its power and the Heims and wreak havoc on this village. You're right. Hearing that, Naruto felt betrayal and fury rising within him. I guess it was true all along. See, Iruka-sensei never really cared for me at all. Then, even, Name. Then he felt a hand squeeze his shoulder gently. Looking up, he stared directly into those eye-color orbs that drew him in so much. Having his attention, she pointed towards the brunette with her head. Please, listen to the whole thing first, Naruto. He wasn't sure of what she meant as there wasn't much else to listen to. That's when Iruka continued his thoughts. If he was the demon fox spirit. But Naruto is different. I know he is an exceptional student. He works very hard, and he's single-minded and clumsy at the same time. No one accepts him, but he knows the meaning of human suffering. He is not the demon fox spirit. He's Uzumaki Naruto of Konoha. Tears rolled down Naruto's face non-stop. He couldn't be any happier to have been told that. Name glanced at him happily. He received what he had been searching for all these years. Having no idea of their presence, Mizuki took out his second giant shuriken. You are so gullible, Iruka. I was gonna take you down later, but I have changed my mind. Hurry up and die. Mizuki sprinted towards him with the weapon. The brunette unable to move because of his injuries. I guess this is the end for me. Hope vanished in the eyes of Iruka in the situation he had gotten himself into. He smiled, ready to perish, when Naruto came out of nowhere and punched Mizuki far from them. the shuriken flying off. Then, Name suddenly appeared beside Iruka, Anyo Baka. Just leaving without saying anything. Naruto. Name, what are you both doing? Questioned the Chunin, then directed his attention towards the girl beside him. Name, please take Naruto and leave. But he only received a dumbfounded look from her. What are you saying? You are terribly injured, so I got to heal you. So let Naruto have the spotlight for a moment, sensei. Before he could protest, a green light appeared on the girl's hands and she placed them on his back. Please do not move. My medical ninjutsu for non-fatal wounds is still in progress. That's what I get for working so much and trying to bring people back from the brink of death in place of trying to heal everything. Meanwhile, Naruto stood face to face with Mizuki, who was growling at the boy in anger. You should not have done that. If you ever lay a hand on Iruka-sensei, I'll kill you. Shut up, spat the albino. I can take care of a kid like you with a single blow. Naruto glared at the man with a dark face and made a hand sign. Try it, trash. I'll strike you back 1,000-fold. Let's see you try, yelled the albino, underestimating the Uzumaki completely. Show me what you can do, Bakagitsune. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Tens of Narutos appeared around Mizuki, surrounding him completely. All of them yelling taunts at the man who now stared in fright at all his new enemies, not understanding that his foolish plan had given the Jinchuriki a great and powerful new technique. Iruka could not believe his eyes, pride for his student, no, former student, growing inside him. Hey. He really did divide into 1,000. Plus. Each wasn't an illusion, but an actual body using the high-level ninjutsu, Kage Bunshin. He may surpass all previous Hokage. Name could not contain her smile at the events. This was the perfect jutsu for someone who had such a tremendous amount of chakra that they couldn't control. That's what that bastard deserves for using Naruto. He just ended up giving his opponent the weapon to beat him. The next morning, Naruto had completely pulverized Mizuki until the traitor was a bleeding mess in the grass. The blonde standing alone over his figure, scratching his head. I kinda got carried away. Are you guys okay? Yup, no problem. Giving it some thought, Iruka called the boy over with a fatigued smile. Naruto, come over here. I'd like to give you something. Back at the village, Hiruzen had seen the whole scene through his witch crystal ball and had calmed the ninjas, informing them of everything that had truly gone down. Iruka had asked Naruto to close his eyes while he sat in front of him and signaled, Name, to not say anything when he saw her reaction from beside him. Sensei, how much longer? Whined the blonde. With a laugh, Iruka told Naruto to open his eyes. Doing so, he found both the brunette and hair color Ed smiling at him. That's when he noticed that the Chunin wasn't wearing the headband, but holding his goggles. Congratulations on your graduation. It looks good on you, Naruto. The boy just stood there stunned, not able to utter a single word at how happy he felt right then. Iruka just kept talking, not really seeing it. In celebration, we'll have ramen tonight. Seeing how quiet he was, the brunette looked down at the boy to see him trying to hold back a beam. Too cheerful to care, he jumped and hugged the man. That hurts. Baka, I'm not done healing him. After the celebratory ramen, Naruto and Name walked side by side wordlessly, none sure of what to say to the other. Although, in the princess case, it was more like she wanted to bury herself and disappear. No, she rejected right away, shaking her head. It was never a lie. Low. At the memory, she held her head in rage. I can't believe I nearly confessed to him. Baka, Baka, Baka. Being as dense as ever, the blonde didn't see her inner turmoil, being in his own thoughts. Name, why? Spoke Naruto, making her look at him back to normal. At first, she thought he would be asking about her keeping him being a Jinchuriki a secret, but his next words surprised her. The same way she had done to him on their first meeting. Why did you become my friend and were so nice to me when you knew the truth? Why you say? Her surprise turned into a grimace. I told you when we met 6 years ago, right? I am just like you. I have a seal that keeps a great power away from my hands, and if one day it is broken, some fear that I could go berserk and do whatever. Once again, they were consumed by silence. Name didn't like it a bit. She wanted the two of them to go back to normal, not act like strangers. She did not want to lose him no matter what. The princess held his sleeve, stopping him, and without looking at him, she began speaking with a huge blush. I don't care if you are a human or a demon or whatever else. I love being with you. I love hearing your voice. I love seeing you smile. So I became your friend and was always nice to you because I selfishly wanted to keep you by my side no matter what. To me, you are like the sun. You are my sun, Naruto. The rays of the morning sun hit them softly, its light falling on their orbs as they locked them. Naruto was too dense to notice, but to anyone else, it would have sounded like a confession. Mainly because it was. Name wanted to say those 3 words so desperately, but she didn't want to cause him such a bother. Not now when he had finally become a ninja after such an experience. They stayed like that for a while, just staring at one another under the enchanting light of the sun, hoping that they could stay like this forever. The birds chirped and the sun began to rise in another beautiful day in the village hidden in the leaves. People were beginning to fill the streets with life and stands to open. Everything seemed to be peaceful and quiet for a while. Naruto, wake up. Ga, Mitaku, I can't believe you forgot about today. Sighed, Name, holding her forehead. She had gone to wake him up for the last day they would go to the academy, only to find him still sleeping soundly. Unfortunately for Naruto, that meant that her scary side came out. He still couldn't get used to the fact that such a sweet girl could have such a personality. Rubbing his red cheek, he laughed, Gomen, it completely crossed my mind. Seriously, today is the orientation meeting, you know. Growled the girl. Knowing how much he was looking forward to this day and that he couldn't miss it no matter what would you have done if you missed it, Baka? I know I could have counted on you. His innocent response made the princess blush, to what Naruto looked at her strangely. He really had no idea the effect his words had on her. I'm so happy right now. Oh, of course you can always count on me. I'll never leave your side after all. That was their promise, their vow. No matter what, they were not going to leave the other behind. They were not going to die. Once they got to the academy, the blonde turned into a cheery mess, sitting all joyfully and smiling non-stop. Even showing off his headband when others questioned why he was there. Yo, Hinata, greeted, Name, once she saw the Hyuga girl, who greeted back shyly, Oh Hayu, Name, Chan. After the princess joined the academy, she and Hinata became friends soon after. Of course, no one would be as close to her as the Uzumaki, but the reserved female was definitely a great friend. The chatter between them came to an end when the huge noise of what seemed like a stampede neared the classroom. Goal. Hearing her angelic voice, Naruto turned towards the pink-haired girl with a small blush. Noticing it, Name glared heatedly at the girl, a murderous aura around her, making Hinata chuckled slightly. What does he see in her? I don't get it. The princess grumped, not taking her eyes off the blonde. Have you asked him? Wondered Hinata. Name's words getting muffled as she laid her head on the table. Yeah. He just blabbered about how she was so pretty and smart. The Hyuga smiled, trying to reassure her. I'm sure Naruto-kun has his reasons, and I believe he likes you more than he does her. After all, Naruto-kun seems to be the happiest around you. Chan. Her eye color, orbs widened, red coating her face as she thought about it. Naruto liking me more than Sakura. If that was the case, then I would still have a chance. When it came to her personal problems, Hinata was always the one she could best count on. Arigato, Hinata. Meanwhile, Naruto had been pushed off his seat by Sakura, whom only cared for the male right beside, Uchiha Sasuke. Turning into a blushing mess, the green-eyed ninja greeted Sasuke, him only staring at her coldly. Oh heyo, Sasuke-kun. Mind if I sit next to you? Hey, interrupted Ino. I'm going to sit next to Sasuke-kun. Cue to both females beginning to fight over who would sit by him, then most girls in the room joined the quarrel. They didn't even notice that Sasuke could care less about them. How annoying. While Name and Hinata, the only girls not joining, watched the scene in curiosity. As that happened, the princess's eyes trailed to the side, feeling the abnormal chakra in the room and instantly recognizing it. How could she not? It was after all the man who had taught her the basics. I can't believe he is actually spying on us. Just as predicted, Sarutobi Hiruzen was using Tomagain no Jutsu to observe the students through his crystal ball together with some other Junin. Is that this year's top rookie, Uchiha Sasuke? Asked one of the shinobi once the sight concentrated on the stoic male. Yuhi Kurenai wondering the same, already knowing the answer, the sole survivor of the Uchiha clan? Then the ball changed views to the surname, the girl acting like she didn't notice. Hiruzen grinned, knowing that she had sensed them and understanding just how talented she truly was. He had no idea why she chose to act like an average student and not show her real power, but he had no reason to stop her, so he let her be. "Make sure to keep check of the seal, Asuka," spoke the Hokage, his attention turning towards a kunoichi with short, turquoise hair and eyes who stood against the wall, not seeming interested with the whole display. At his words, the woman opened her eyes sharply. "Of course, Hokage-sama." Some of the other ninjas whispered between one another. The idea of having the surname Heim taking part in such dangerous activities was not just yet accepted. There was also the fact that after Name made that choice, her sealed power had to be revealed to more people than was liked, which brought fear to the heart of many. While the rest stayed distracted, the screen switched to where the mob of girls stood with Naruto in its center. Hitaki Kakashi being the only one to pay attention other than Hiruzen, Uzumaki Naruto, Ka. In the meantime, Naruto could feel rage build up at his jealousy for the Uchiha increased. It became even worse when he turned his eyes towards his best friend to find her glancing at Sasuke. His logic mind told him that she wasn't interested in the male, but the plain idea of it being possible, it made him feel like the world would crash into pieces. He told himself that he didn't want Sakura liking Sasuke, but the reality was that he didn't want to believe that Name might someday. With that idea stuck in his head, Naruto crouched on the desk in front of Sasuke, the two of them glaring at each other heatedly. The fangirls yelling angrily at the boy, "Naruto! Don't glare at Sasuke-kun. Sasuke-kun, kick his ass. Everyone's all Sasuke. What's so great about this guy?" Just then, a guy at the front leaned back, pushing Naruto. "Oh. Sorry about that. EHHH. Name could feel as if a bomb had just exploded inside her as she fell into a dark corner, a gloomy aura over her, Naruto's first kiss. "I am going to kill you, Uchiha Sasuke." The two separated harshly and spat, "Naruto. I'll kill you, you jerk. My mouth is rotting. What? I feel rage." The blonde stopped and turned around sweating, finding all the fangirls glaring at him. "An accident." "It was an accident. You're annoying." Sakura cracked her knuckles evilly, the rest of the girls following her lead as they all proceeded to beat up the boy. Meanwhile, Name crouched on her corner with Hinata trying to console her, not even hearing the calls from Naruto. Some of the Junin at the Hokage's office had looks of disgust or discomfort while others were just plain shocked at the whole thing. Many able to immediately see the unrequited love their princess had for the troublemaker, so obvious. Hiruzen could just sigh at the two kids he had taken care of, Name, Naruto. They're at the center of trouble as usual. After a while, things calmed down with the arrival of their sensei, Iruka. Getting out of her corner, Name healed Naruto's wounds and sat at the table beside him, in front of Hinata. "As of today, you all have become full-fledged ninjas," began Iruka the moment he arrived. "Taking out a file, however, you're still genin. The tough part is still to come. From here on, you'll be in a squad of 3 and carry out your missions under your Junin teachers." Those words gained the attention of a couple of the genin, most girls wanting to be on the same team as the Uchiha survivor. "Squads of 3, It'll just slow me down," frowned Sasuke, his black orbs unconsciously trailing towards the hair-color-haired girl. He wasn't interested in being part of a team, but to him, Name was weak and would be easier to protect her if they were on the same team. On the other hand, Naruto only had 2 people in mind. First will be Name. Oh right, and Sakura-chan. Definitely not Sasuke. He didn't even notice that he hadn't considered the Haruno at all at the beginning, although he was supposed to like her. Naruto and Hinata would be my ideals, of course. But I doubt such a team would be formed. Sighed Name, already having an idea of how they would place the genin together as she had done it herself before. The groups have been determined so that the strength of the groups will be balanced. Now for the assignments, continued Iruka after some complaint. From then on, he began calling team numbers with the 3 members in it. Now then, next is Team 7. Uzumaki Naruto, Haruno Sakura, and Uchiha Sasuke, the choice conflicting the feelings among the group. Next group, Team 8. Hyuga Hinata, Inazuka Kiba, Aburame Shino. Name felt disheartened at that. The only 2 people she would trust with her life in a team were placed in other groups, which meant that she would either be with her own fans, Someone who wouldn't dare act like they were on the same level, or someone that hates her. Next, Team 9. Genzo Takashi, Genzo Renji. These two being twins from one of the important ninja clans in Konoha. Takashi was the oldest, he had blonde locks and purple eyes, while Renji, the youngest, had purple hair and golden orbs. And, full name. Takashi's mood went down at the name of the last member, sending murderous glares in the direction of said girl. Name, ignoring him completely. Group 10. Yamanaka Ino, Nara Shikamaru, and Akamichi Choji. That's all for the group's division. Once he finished his sentence, Naruto couldn't wait to complain about the fact of being on the same team as Uchiha Sasuke. Iruka saying how it was because Naruto had the worst scores while Sasuke the best. Okay, in the afternoon, I'll introduce you to your Junin teachers. You're dismissed until then. I can't believe I'm on the same teams as that jerk. And you're in somewhere else, too. Naruto kept complaining, eating his bento non-stop angrily. Don't worry too much. In the first place, we didn't know if we were going to be able to stay stuck together once we graduated. Name, caressed his golden curls gently with a smile. Whatever happens, I'm sure things will work out one way or another. It was late in the afternoon and Hitomi Asuka, the sensei assigned to Team 9, was still leisurely walking around the streets of Konoha without a care. That's when she saw Hitaki Kakashi right in front of her reading his book. To this day, Asuka had never been able to find out what it was about. She had no idea why the man would stutter when she asked. Kakashi and Asuka knew each other since the academy, both joining the Anbu around the same time. They made a great team, which is why they were paired together in many missions. Hitaki being the oldest and most experienced, one of the two being the leader, which is one of the reasons why she respects him so much, falling for him after a couple of years. What the turquoise-haired woman did not know was that the Junin had had a crush on her since the academy and still does. You're pretty late in meeting your new team, said the turquoise-eyed Kunoichi, the masked man looking her up and down. The same goes for you. Don't you have to go and meet the Haim-sama? Asuka crossed her arms, turning her head the other way. She chose the life of a ninja, so I'm not going to give her any special treatment over her status. The only exception is when something happens with her seal. Is that so? Kakashi stared at her for a moment and then turned around, beginning to walk. Either way, we should be getting to the academy soon. Kids can be impatient. Weren't you also wasting your time? She growled, narrowing her turquoise orbs. Meanwhile, Teams 7 and 9 waited for their teachers to arrive so that they could finally leave. Naruto, Takashi, and Sakura wanting to beat up whoever they were for being so late. Name, leaned by the wall, reading a book. And Sasuke and Renji were just sitting at a desk silently. The Uzumaki just kept getting more and more impatient, checking the hallway constantly. Irritating Sakura to no end. Naruto, stay still. Why is it that only our squad's teachers are late? Said Naruto, receiving a nod of agreement from Name, who walked towards him. Naruto is right. Every single team has gone with their new teachers, even Iruka-sensei left. The pink-haired girl tried to act uncaring, but the inside she was the same as Naruto. Then the blonde picked up an eraser and went towards the door, surprising Sakura. Hey, what are you doing, Naruto? Hey, nihihi. That's what he gets for being late. He got on top of a stool and placed the eraser in between the door and the wall. The other blonde, Takashi, getting closer with a smirk. Whichever one gets here first is going to pay for their lateness. Man, you're asking for it, grumped Sakura, internally cheering. I like stuff like this. On the contrary, Sasuke scoffed at the idea. A Junin wouldn't get caught in such a weak booby trap. Yeah, Naruto, that's not good enough. Said Name, making the others believe that she was on Sasuke's and Sakura's side, then her next words shocking them. Place a bucket with bricks or something. How are they going to pay if they don't suffer, baka? Everyone stared at her silently, deciding to never piss her off. Suddenly, a hand came through the door, gaining their attention. The door slowly opening as he stepped in, the eraser falling straight on his head. Giahahaha, you fell for it, cheered Naruto and Takashi. Renji nearing him worriedly, Daijobu ka, sensei? Gomennasai, sensei. I tried to stop them, but Naruto and Takashi did it on their own. Apologized the Haruno, thinking the complete opposite. Sasuke frowned at the sight, not believing his eyes. Get real. Is he really a Junin? Oh, Kakashi-san, you're going to become a sensei for real? exclaimed Name, waving at the man. What the hell are you lot doing? Questioned Asuka, coming in right then after hearing the commotion. Kakashi placed a hand on his chin, giving some thought. How can I put this? As for my first impression of you guys, well, I hate you. Ignoring the whole thing, Asuka stepped to the front with a sigh. I'm here for Team 9. Let's go. Nay, sensei, why don't we do the introductions together? Seeing how you both get so well along, teased Name with a grin. The kunoichi looked at the girl with a blush. This is going to be such a bother. And just like that, Team 9 and 7 sat all together on the roof, the Junin leaning against the railing. Let's see, we'll begin with some introductions, spoke Asuka, not sure herself of what to do and just following what she remembered doing with her own sensei the first time. What do you want to know? Questioned Takashi in annoyance. Kakashi responding lazily, your likes, dislikes, your future dream, hobbies, things like that. Hey, before that, please tell us about yourselves. Began Naruto, the princess agreeing, yeah. You look suspicious. You both probably read our files and know who we are, but we know nothing of you. The Junin sweat dropping, sighing once again. Receiving a look from the silver-haired ninja, Asuka scratched her head and began, well then. My name is Hitomi Asuka. I don't particularly like or dislike anything and I have no time for hobbies. As for my dreams, I have none, and I am Hitaki Kakashi. I don't feel like telling you guys about my likes and dislikes. I've never really thought about my future dream. As for hobbies, I have many. At the end of the introduction, the genin glared at their sensei in aggravation. Sakura growling lowly, in the end, isn't all we know their names? Yeah, next is you guys. Let's start with your team, Asuka-chan. Kakashi crossed his arms, smiling at the glaring woman. With a snarl, she turned her turquoise orbs towards her not yet students. Each time she pointed towards one, their information flowing through her mind, the one with the purple eyes, began. Seeming disinterested, the oldest twin began speaking, my name is Genzo Takashi. I like all kinds of weapons and fighting techniques and I hate arrogant, stuck-up people. My hobbies are training and making my own weapons. My only goal is to show my clan that I'm not weak. Genzo Takashi, the oldest son of the main house of the Genzo clan, a clan that specializes in genjutsu and by using their kekkei genkei are able to turn those illusions into reality. However, his chakra control is extremely low and he is unable to activate either of his family's talents, which is why he's considered a failure. Although that might be the case, his taijutsu and bukajutsu are chunin level and still growing. You go now, Grapehead. Startled, the youngest twin blushed, smiling gently as he answered delicately, Domo, my name is Genzo Renji. I like reading and being with Ni-san a lot. There's nothing in particular I dislike other than being interrupted when I'm busy. As for a dream, I only wish to stay by Ni-san's side. Genzo Renji, the youngest. In contrast to his twin, he has been learning his clan's techniques and advancing quickly. His genjutsu being nearly at Junin level, and already awakening the first stage of his kekkei genkei. Many would prefer it if he was the oldest for that reason. Meanwhile, Sasuke glanced at Renji hatefully. The way he kept saying Ni-san with that innocent smile reminding him of himself before the day of the massacre 5 years ago. That leaves you, Haim. Name, grinned at how the woman said it without any respect, liking this sensei, I am, full name. There are way too many things I like and dislike, so I don't feel like mentioning them all. I also have a lot of hobbies. Everyone's sweat dropped, immediately being able to tell that she was doing the same as the Junin on purpose. My dream is, I will become stronger and stronger until I can protect everyone, and no one will have to die for me ever again. Full name, head of the surname, family and descendant of the first user of chakra. Until now, she has only caused trouble with the Jinchuriki and her grades are just average. Although she has that much power, she doesn't seem to be much talented while most of it's sealed. Her dream caught the attention of everyone else. To them, she seemed like an easygoing, cheery girl, but appearances can be deceiving. Looking bored, Kakashi turned towards Naruto and pointed at him. Receiving his cue, the Jinchuriki held his headband, my name's Uzumaki Naruto. I like cup ramen, but what I like even more is the ramen from Ichiraku that Iruka-sensei treats me to. The person I like the most is my best friend, name, of course. What I dislike is waiting 3 minutes for the cup ramen to cook. My hobby is eating and comparing ramen. Does he think of anything besides ramen? And my future dream is to surpass the Hokage. And then have all the people of this village acknowledge my existence. At the blonde's words, the same thought ran through both adults' mind. Naruto. This kid's grown up in an interesting way. Hi, next. Once the man pointed towards her, the pink-haired ninja beamed with a blush, looking at the Uchiha every time and never finishing her answers. I'm Haruno Sakura. What I like, who I like is. And my hobby is, my future dream is. Kaya, Sorikara asterisk? And? Began Asuka, Kakashi picking up, both dumbfounded. What about your dislikes? Naruto. EEHHH? The gray-haired man was more than dismayed at the kind of team he was getting. Girls at her age are probably more interested in love than the ninja arts. Except for some scary exceptions. His mind immediately going to some of the kunoichi he has met, including the one beside him. For some reason these exceptions were women that could turn into demons if angered. Seeing her dejected friend, an idea came to name's head and she smirked. You can't do that, Sakura. That's even worse than these guys' introduction. You have to say everything properly. Nay, I'll translate for you. The Haruno looked terrified at the evil grin that the princess was sending her. Adjusting her voice, imitated Sakura's voice. I'm Haruno Sakura. I like Uchiha Sasuke and his duck butt head, more so his rudeness and creepiness. And my hobby is to stalk him and take secret, pervy pictures, and of course to steal his clothes to sniff them later. My future dream is to have his babies. Cue to disgusted looks from everyone. Cough. And lastly, the Uchiha trying to return to his emotionless facade, answering coldly, my name's Uchiha Sasuke. I have lots of dislikes, but no likes in particular. And I don't feel like summing up my ambition is just a dream, but I do have an ambition. The ambition to restore my clan and without fail, to kill a certain man. A tense aura took over the area, no one daring to utter a word just yet. Kakashi, Asuka, and glancing at Sasuke with hard eyes, expecting this, Yahari. The kunoichi decided to break the tension and end the day. Alright, that will be all for today. We'll have a mission tomorrow. Of course, both teams separately. Yay, what kind of mission? Yelled Naruto in excitement. First, we'll do what we can with just 4 people, said Kakashi mysteriously, only fueling both blondes' excitement. Nani? 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 The Junin stared at the kids uninterestedly, responding at the same time, survival exercise. This getting much complaining from Sakura, who didn't understand in the slightest. Why are we doing an exercise even though this is supposed to be a mission? We've had more than our share of exercises in the academy. This is no simple exercise, replied Asuka, confusing both teams even more. This is your final test. Of the 27 graduates, around only 9 will be chosen as genin. The rest will be sent back to the academy. Of course there have been years with exclusions, but this test has a probability of failure of over 66%. Sweat ran down all their faces, gulping at the news. That's crazy, but we worked so hard. Then what was the point of the graduation test, Datbeo? Protested Naruto. I can't fail here. I've got to have my strength recognized for real. Oh, that. It was just to select those who have the potential of becoming genin, said the Hitaki, then placed his plan in motion. We'll be determining whether you pass or fail. Bring your complete set of shinobi tools. We meet at 5 in the morning. Okay, you're dismissed, announced Asuka, observing how most of them trembled, and turned around together with her former leader. Don't involve my team in your stupid games, Kakashi. You're the only one who does that during the test. Before they left, Kakashi turned his head around and looked back at the group. Oh. And you'd best skip breakfast. You'll throw up. The next day came quickly, the genin unable to get any rest at the anxiety of the test to come. Most of them walked sluggishly towards the training grounds, falling asleep the moment they hit the ground. Only Sasuke and stood still, not particularly tired. The young teens had come more than prepared, bringing all their weapons. Each one of them, except Sakura, wearing their headband proudly on their forehead. Naruto woke up a while later, still slightly tired. His sapphire orbs trailed towards his best friend who was quietly sitting beside him reading a book, completely awake. Are you all right? You should get some sleep, too, Datbeo, mumbled the Uzumaki groggily, rubbing his eyes. At his voice, the princess turned towards him, smiling once they locked eyes. Heiki. I'm used to not getting much sleep after all. Used to it, wondered Naruto out loud, staring at her with widened eyes. He remembered every time he had begged her to play with him and she apologized and said she was busy. In the end, she would always come by later and stay by his side, but the boy saw that while he rested or when he woke up, he would always find her writing something and then a ninja would take it. He frowned at the idea of name always making some time for him when she had so much work to do as the surname head. Is something wrong, Naruto? Asked the girl, waking Naruto from his deep thoughts, i.e. I'm just a bit worried about the test we are gonna have. Name wasn't exactly convinced, but opted for not digging in too much and patted his head. Okay. You should get some more sleep before they get here. We'll get some ramen afterwards. Alright. Hours passed by and the sensei were still nowhere in sight. It wasn't until the sky had turned completely blue that Asuka and Kakashi finally appeared, acting as if nothing was wrong. Hi fellows. Good morning, everyone. You're late. A black cat crossed our path, so tried to explain the masked ninja, only receiving heated glares. The turquoise-haired kunoichi tried to muffle in a chuckle, smirking at his discomfort. Well, let's move on. Both teams will be taking the test separately, so let's get this over with. The Junin sent each other a nod and walked in opposite directions. The genin were confused at first, but with no much choice, each followed their assigned sensei. I'll see you later, Naruto. Good luck. Waved, name, sprinting after her team. Naruto waving back vigorously. See ya in a bit. Hitomi Asuka led the newly formed Team 9 farther away from their meeting point, stopping by some logs that were used for shooting practice and placed a clock over it. Alright, this alarm is set for noon, that's your time limit. Spoke the woman without much emotion and took out 2 bells from her pocket, holding them up. You have to try to take these from me before the time is up. Those of you who don't have one will be sent back to the academy immediately. Takashi frowned, knowing how hard it would be to steal something from a Junin, but then his eyes twitched in confusion. By the way, Asuka-sensei, what does this have to do with not eating any lunch? Oh, that. Kakashi likes making it harder for his students, so he tells them that on purpose. It doesn't really have anything to do with me or the test, replied the turquoise-haired Anbu, ignoring the glares from her students. The purple-haired twin sweated slightly, his golden orbs trailing towards the bells. There are only 2 though. Exactly. You only need 1 to pass, but as there are only 2, one of you is doomed to fail the test and be sent back to the Ninja Academy. Although all of you could still fail. Asuka's face turned dark, smirking at the genin. You can use any kind of weapon or technique you desire, I don't mind. They unconsciously got into a fighting position, sweat running down their bodies as they narrowed their eyes. Name crossed her arms, analyzing each word that came out of the kunoichi's mouth. Zurui asterisk. Sensei, not fair. These 2 are obviously going to fight together and leave me out. That's not my problem. I'm not the one assigning the teams. Asuka narrowed her eyes at the princess. The way the girl was acting just wasn't right. These whole time the haired ninja had reacted the same as everyone else, but something just felt wrong about it. Once I say so, you guys can begin. Leaving her thoughts behind, the Hitomi tied the bells to her belt and closed her turquoise orbs. Ready. Start. Wind blew around her and the woman opened her eyes sharply, the genin nowhere in sight. Let's see what you kids can do. Though I don't expect to pass any of you. Name moved around the trees swiftly, crouching by a branch far away from the other shinobi and took out a scroll. I hope Naruto is doing okay. Poor guy must be so hungry by now. Well, I'll get him some ramen later. For now, I should finish this up. Grinning, the princess got to work, going from tree to tree at a fast pace and forming a hand sign which made the papers she left disappear. None of them having any idea of what she was planning. Meanwhile, the Genzo twins planned by themselves how to take down the Junin and obtain the bells. While you distract her with your genjutsu, I should be able to get the bells. Try not to waste too much chakra, she is a Junin after all. Spoke Takashi, not daring to underestimate the woman for 1 second. On the other hand, Renji was extremely nervous, his father's words running through his mind. As my son, I expect you to pass and nothing less. You're not like your brother, so don't you dare disappoint me. Or there will be consequences. The head of the Genzo clan looked down at his youngest son who sat on the floor, not staring back at him once as his body trembled and he bit his lip. Renji did not even want to think of what those consequences might be. Every time he messed up in something, his father would make him train for days with no much rest in whatever that was. The reason being that he was supposed to be his family's prodigy, unlike his older brother who was considered a failure. However, Renji admired Takashi greatly. The blonde might not be able to control his chakra as he should, but he was extremely strong in his point of view, mainly because of this one Junin who understood his suffering and trained him in the arts of taijutsu, even after he got his own team to train. No matter how Renji saw it, his older brother was way better than him. Finishing their planning, the twins jumped right into action, going through the forest until they were close to where their sensei stood by. The woman seemed to be sleeping against a log, her guard completely down, but the siblings knew better than to believe she was just leisurely resting without a care. Cautiously, Renji made some hand seals and a dark mist began covering the forest around them. Asuka cracked her orbs open slowly, not appearing worried at all. With a sigh of annoyance, the woman stood up and brushed off the dirt off her clothes. I guess my break is over. The kunoichi closed her eyes, blocking all her senses and only feeling the chakra running through the boys. Quickly, she moved to the side just in time before Takeshi's fist touched her, the tree where she used to be breaking into pieces at the attack. Kuso. I thought I had her, growled the blonde, getting ready to attack again. On the contrary, Asuka just stood lazily waiting for him to move. For someone who is seen as a failure, you have quite a lot of physical strength. Suddenly, vines popped out the ground and wrapped around their sensei tightly. Nice, Renji, cheered the oldest twin, sprinting towards the woman and landing a hit, only for her to disappear in a poof of smoke. And Nandato. A substitution? Not exactly. Takashi turned around hastily, going for a kick, but the woman grabbed his leg. It was a clone. I must admit the two of you are stronger than other kids your age, Demo. That won't be enough to beat me. With those words, she threw the boy against the ground and moved away from the coming vines created by the Genzu's Kekkei Genkei. These were the real deal, not simple illusions. Asuka wondered just how terrifying that innocent child would become once he learned more about the technique, if he could already do this after only awakening it. The heated battle went on for a while, the siblings fighting with everything they got. However, the Anbu member was a powerful opponent and they couldn't find any openings. It also didn't help that they were getting tired after fighting for so long and with their bellies completely empty, not to mention they didn't have much sleep. Asuka evaded another one of Takashi's punch, which created another crater in the ground. That had been just the power of his bare fists without infusing any chakra on it. If someone was actually hit by that, well, let's just say it won't be a pretty picture. Is that everything you boys have? Mocked Asuka, not breaking a sweat, unlike the blonde who was panting heavily. Uru, sigh. I'm not done yet. The kunoichi's orbs trailed to the side, feeling a presence, and decided to get this over with. There wasn't that much time left to begin, and it didn't seem like they had noticed the actual point of the test, so there was no reason to keep going easy on them. She was planning on having this team fail from the very beginning after all. Asuka had no desire to babysit children, less so a little princess. In less than a second, the Anbu made some hand seals and a huge vortex surrounded her, pushing both males away. They both grunting as they fell hard against the trees. With a bored look, Asuka transported towards the presence hiding behind a tree, that person being none other than, full name, herself. The girl looked back startled at the woman whom just stared at her emotionlessly. Were you planning on hiding the whole time and do nothing at all? Did you really think you would be able to pass like that? Asuka grabbed her shoulder so that the princess would not move when her turquoise eyes widened and she looked at the girl in shock. Her reaction making the girl smirk. Ma, you noticed Asuka-sensei. How boring. The girl turned to dust, completely vanishing. She was just a clone. That's when the kunoichi perceived that both Genzo siblings were also nowhere to be found. The Hitomi gritted her teeth, embarrassed that she allowed that child to get past her so easily. Takashi laid on the ground in pain, not having much strength to open his eyes, when he suddenly felt a jab in his stomach and screamed, "Ah! Wake up already, weakling!" Ordered, name, pressing her foot against his stomach, making him grunt even more. What was that for, Anyo Kuso Anana? You damn woman? What do you mean? I'm just nicely waking you up from your beauty sleep. Mocked the eye-eyed girl. Hearing their quarrel, Renji walked towards them. Having woken up a while ago. Stop fighting, both of you. We only have 30 more minutes before the test is over. With that, the three genin sat in a circle, the blonde being the first to speak. Why exactly did you bring us here for? Just so you know, we're not going to fight for you or anything, even if you're a surname. That's fine. I don't want you to. Her words surprising them both. There is no way you would pass the test anyways, even if you did get a bell. What do you mean? Questioned the purple-haired male. Name stared at them directly in the eyes. I mean exactly that. Even if you're able to obtain the bells Sensei has, unless we worked all together, we would fail. Together? There are only 2 of them though. Exclaimed Takashi, not trusting the cunning girl, something she expected from the very beginning. Did you guys know that during the Chunin exams the only way you can get to the third part is if you have all 3 members of your team? The brothers looked confused at this, shaking their heads hesitantly. As a daimyo, I have gone to most of these competitions and there is a rule that has always been there for all these years. If one member of the team is not able to keep fighting or surrenders, then the whole team fails. Of course, that rule is not counted during the one-on-one battles, however, you won't even be able to sign up unless you are in a team of 3. Explained the girl, the boys finally seeing her point. So, why would this test break that same team as just genin? And the numbers make no sense either. How would they know that only 9 would be the most likely to pass when they have 2 bells? Unless what they truly actually meant was that only 3 teams are likely to pass. Her reasoning made a lot of sense to them as they nodded, quietly listening to everything she had to say before making any decisions. The biggest problem is that there is no way some genin can beat a junin. Asuka-sensei got to that level because during the exams she was able to best many others and her strength was recognized. During the Chunin and Junin exams, she was among the best competitors. Even when the both of you fought against her together, you didn't come much closer, did you? The last sentence, pissing the blonde off. We were close to getting the bells a couple of times, you know? Ah, is that so? Name glanced at him coldly. Asuka-sensei was not really trying though. She was holding back the whole time to give us a chance. As I said, there is no way a couple of genin can beat a junin, unless they hold back during the test. Their orbs widened, sweat running down their faces. During the fight with the woman, the siblings had noted that she wasn't fighting back much, just defending herself. Not to mention, she had not sweated at all. At their faces, the princess smiled, seeing that they were on the same page now. It seems you guys finally understand your position. Then if you get it, let's work together to pass. How do we know we can trust you? The part about Sensei holding back might be true, but I can't just believe you completely without being sure. We have no intention of failing here. Spoke Takashi, his lilac orbs turning hard. Letting out a sigh, Name gave him the best proof she had. If I use and lie to you to pass the test, I would definitely be seen as the bad guy. I don't care about what anyone thinks really, but Naruto. He might hate me for breaking someone else's dreams so easily. So I won't betray you because I don't want him to vanish from my life. Their eyes stayed locked on one another for what seemed like forever. Seeing no hesitation, and knowing just how important the troublemaker was to the girl, Takashi decided to trust her just this once. I get it. But don't even think about using us like chess pieces. I won't. Her lips formed a smile, then grabbed their hands, perplexing them. Now, if we are going to beat a junin somehow, both of you have to be charged to the maximum. A clear, blue and green light formed on her hands, covering their bodies. The Genzo twins gasped as they felt all their chakra quickly restoring and their wounds healing. Once the light vanished, they felt as good as new. They're done. Shall we go then? The twins sent her a grin of their own, determination flaring in their eyes. Asuka had been looking for the genin for a while, no trace of their chakra anywhere. Her eyes narrowed, irritated with the fact that she had to search for those brats. Swiftly, the woman moved out the way, avoiding the hit from the Genzo just in time. What truly shocked the Kunoichi was that all his chakra was back to normal and he didn't seem to be tired at all. There was absolutely no way that resting for a couple of minutes would restore you back to health. Hehe, did you think you had us defeated already, Sensei? Sorry, but we are not going to give up. At his yell, countless seals appeared all over the area as chakra was infused into them. Not sure of what to expect from these children, Asuka got into position, still highly relaxed. There was no reason for her to fight for real when the time was close to ending, and not to mention the Hokage would not be too happy if he found out that she fought seriously with these kids. Suddenly, everything turned crimson and beasts surrounded the woman. She assumed them to be simple illusions, however, once one of the beasts nearly scratched her, that idea went down the drain. She knew that Renji was the only one who could do such a thing, but he wasn't supposed to be able to use this technique as such level just yet. That's when she noticed, the seals were to increase his power even beyond his limit. What made no sense was in what time they had done the job. In just a couple of minutes and in their tired states they couldn't have done all of this and then hid it from her. Are you surprised, sensei? Takashi touched one of the seals, a huge sword coming right out, and he jumped towards her, the slash cutting many of the trees around. After she evaded, he took another sword from a seal close by, the attack being even more destructive. Asuka ducked, happy that her hair was short for once. The Anbu member stepped back a bit to avoid the blonde who kept summoning even more weapons and pushing her to the side. Weapons flew from all around, traps hidden everywhere. The woman could not step anywhere without having to be cautious. Then, Asuka felt a presence behind her after avoiding another attack, however, it was a bit too late. She's all yours, name. With her palms opened, she hit the woman in the back, blocking her chakra points. They all turned back towards the princess, even the Genzo being extremely surprised at the sight, not being able to believe what they were seeing at all. While the twins did not understand how she possessed such a known power, Asuka knew exactly why. What surprised her was that, name, had activated it in the first place. Gomen-sensei, but you shouldn't have underestimated me in the first place. Smirked, name, her eyes shining a bright, eye-color shade as she showed them the bells. Ring ring ring. Asuka smiled lightly, finally seeing the girl's scheme. She had not been weak at the academy, she just kept her grades low so that she would be looked down upon. She had left on her own to prepare all the seals, predicting this outcome, not to hide and wait for an opportunity. The clone she had sent was to distract her while she took the twins, not to spy. And most of all, the reason she had waited until the end, was so that the kunoichi would not expect them working together and go back to holding back. From the very beginning, the princess had planned the whole thing. Discovering the point of the test the moment it was announced. Since the moment Asuka had believed her to be weak, she had fallen into her trap. Name, was definitely the surname, head. Ha ha ha, it seems you've got me. Laughed Asuka, now seeing why the Hokage had so much faith in this little girl. I guess that does it. From now on, Team 9 is operational. Yata, we did it. Cheered Takashi, hugging Renji who had just come down a tree, forgetting what they had just seen out of happiness. At least for now, they would definitely interrogate her later. That's right, Ni-san. Seems you'll be stuck with me for a while. Ta tilde ka tilde she tilde. Smirked the princess, knowing just how much she was disliked by the boy. And just as expected, he grew angry and tick marks appeared all over his head as he went to hit her, ending up running after her all over the forest. The turquoise-haired woman looked at the two warily and sighed. I'll have to babysit these brats after all. I wonder if Kakashi-senpai will be disappointed in me. Name, laughed the whole time as she ran, enjoying the little peace she was feeling for now. She knew it wouldn't last for long, not until they were eliminated. But until then, she would have some fun with these new friends of her. The newly formed team stood by the bridge, waiting to see what would happen with Team 7. The only ones who actually wanted to know being the females, but the brothers decided to stick around out of curiosity. Not too long after, the group walked in their direction, Name, excitedly sprinting towards her friend, crush and hugging him. Naruto, you're finally here. Yo, Name, we passed, dat bayo. Beamed the sapphire-eyed blonde, gaining a smile from the princess. That's great. We did too. Though sensei seems a bit down because of it tilde. I'm going to kill that child someday. Growled Asuka mentally, earning a chuckle from Kakashi. So they got past you. It seems you got a pretty nice team then. The short-haired kunoichi crossed her arms, looking away. The same goes for you. This is a first, isn't it? Although, by how long you took, I take it they only passed the lunch part. At this, the genin from Team 7 flinched, embarrassed that they were not actually able to get the bells and only passed by giving lunch to Naruto. There was such a part in the test? Wondered Renji, receiving a no from his sensei. Kakashi is the only one who does that. There is no way I would have given you guys a second chance if you had failed. At her words, Team 7 stared at the other three in shock, completely dumbfounded. You guys took the bells from Asuka-sensei? Asked Sakura shakily, Sasuke and Naruto listening intently. Not particularly caring for their pride, Name answered cheerily, yeah. It was so obvious we had to work together really. Not to mention that sensei was holding back. The test could not have been easier. They all chuckled warily, not having seen something that was supposed to be obvious. I don't want to hear that from the person who held back the whole year. Spat Takashi, much to Team 7's astonishment. The male would never say it, but he knew she wasn't giving it her all back at the academy. He had seen her training once soon after she joined the academy. All her targets were on mark and everything seemed to be destroyed by her attacks. He always wondered why she failed on purpose while in school. More than anything it angered him because he considered her his rival. What do you mean by holding back? Naruto looked at the other blonde and his friend. Name went easy the whole years at school so that whatever sensei she had would underestimate her during this exam. Explained the purple-eyed brother, making the others stare at the princess incredulously. Sakura getting on her face, you knew we would have to do this. This only made Name stare at the other team in puzzlement. Well, yeah. I mean, there is no way they will give the position of shinobi, someone who protects the village, to people who can just make a mere fake clone. The tests at the academy were too simple, so I expected they would do something to show our strengths in a more risky and difficult exam. Kakashi chuckled at her answer. There were really not that many people who had found out, not even himself, about this exam. Even those who passed didn't necessarily know the point of the test, and nearly none of them expected there to be any. Now that that's over with, let's go get some ramen, said Name. Naruto didn't have to be told twice and sprinted off, the rest of the genin following right behind with Kakashi, liking the idea of free food quite a lot. Just as the princess went to follow, Asuka stopped her. Back then, you activated that, right? Don't you believe your own eyes, sensei? The smile did not leave her face as she answered. I have been able to use it since Oni-sama's death, the Byakugan. Did you call for me, Hokage-sama? The turquoise-haired woman appeared out of nowhere, bowing down on the floor with her Enbu outfit and a fox mask. The Sandame sat on his desk with his pipe, reading some document. I heard that Name used her Byakugan during the test. Only Hyuga Hiyashi, Himura Satoru, and I know, and I want it to stay that way for now. Wakari Mashita *. I understand, Sandame-sama. Spoke Asuka, turning her turquoise eyes towards him. I don't mean to intrude, but since when? Hiruzen placed the documents on the table, closing his eyes. After the incident 3 years ago, all her pain and grief broke parts of the seal and some of that chakra seeped out uncontrollably. And soon after, her Byakugan activated. In no time, Name got it under control and was able to completely use it at will. Now she can either keep her eyes like normal or activate the Byakugan like any other Hyuga. The Hitomi digested the newfound information slowly, wondering what else she could be able to release as her power grew stronger and greater. With her determination, it definitely would. Then, both adults felt the approaching chakra of the same person they were just talking about until it halted in front of the door, followed by knocking. Receiving permission, the surname head entered the room and stood beside the old man. Ohio, Hiruzen, Asuka-sensei. Her greeting shocking the Anbu. If you're going to hide your identity, sensei, you should change your hair color. I don't want to hear that from a weirdo like yourself. Growled the woman, fed up with the kid since their first meeting. If that will be all, I'll be on my way. Not waiting for an answer, Asuka vanished in a flash. At her actions, Sarutobi chuckled, turning towards the haired girl. It seems you had your fun bothering the poor girl. Name. I only teased her a little. Tilda. She pouted, her eye color orbs shining with mischief. Then, the Hokage turned serious as he stared at Name. Did you find the man who tried to steal from you? At the question, her smirk turned darker as a shadow fell over her eyes. I have a good idea where I can find him, too. I'll be going to the Land of Waves today to get him. Sokka. Do be careful. Hiruzen put his head on his intertwined hands. Why don't you stay for a little longer? Naruto should be passing by with his team in a bit. Name's eyes widened, smiling softly. I have to leave him some food before I leave. For the next couple hours, both ninjas talked. First about the man, name, was after, and then about more personal matters, mostly her training. The two of them moved to the room where jobs are collected and sat together at a table with Iruka sensei. Soon later, Madame Shijimi, the wife of a feudal lord, entered the office, followed by Team 7. "Oh, my cute little Tora-chan. I was so worried." The woman crushed the poor brown cat that kept trying to run away, Naruto laughing at the whole thing. "That cat's getting what he deserves. No wonder it ran away," thought everyone at the sight with a sweat drop. As Madame Shijimi went to the table by the side to pay, the Hokage began reading off a little note. "Now then. Kakashi's Team 7, your next duty is an errand to the neighboring town, to babysit the chief counselor's grandson, helping with digging for potatoes." "Dame," interrupted Naruto, arms forming an X. "No, thank you. As for me, I want to do like a more exciting mission. Give us something else." Sasuke agreeing with the blonde silently. "He's got a point. Man, he's a pain," growled Sakura while Kakashi just sweat dropped. "I thought it was about time for him to get fretful." "Bakayaro, you're still a bottom rookie. Everyone starts off with the simple duties and works their way up," reprimanded Iruka, standing by Hiruzen. However, Naruto didn't want to hear it. Dad, it's been nothing but blah missions so far. Only to receive a punch over the head by Kakashi. Knock it off." With a sigh, the Sandame lectured. "Naruto, it seems I have to explain to you what a mission is. Listen to me. Requests pour in the village every day. They range from babysitting to assassinations. Each request is written down on these lists and divided into an A, B, C, and D ranking based on difficulty. In the village, everyone below me is divided up by ability in the order of Junin, Chunin, and Genin. We at the highest level distribute the requests as missions to shinobi who have the abilities that suit said mission. And, if the mission is completed successfully, we receive payment from the client. Nevertheless, you guys have just become Genin. D rank is about the best you can do." That's when Sarutobi finally noticed that they weren't listening to him and just speaking about ramen. "Listen, name," chuckled, then thought out loud with a finger on her chin. "D? There was such a low rank? Team 7 stared at her in confusion, to what she explained, not seeing as the Hokage tried to stop her. "I've only gone on C ranks, so I had no idea." "What the hell, old man? You lecture me about all this stuff and it's not even true," yelled Naruto, making Hiruzen sigh once again. "Team 9 is advanced enough to accomplish these type of missions, you guys are not." His words made Sasuke grit his teeth, irritated at the fact that the little and weak princess he was supposed to protect was able to pass the test. What pissed him off even more was that she had been holding back the whole time at the academy, and if she hadn't, he might not have been number 1 of his class. Seeing the way he looked at her, Sakura sent a small glare towards "Name, I won't lose to you." The pink-haired Kunoichi had to admit she was jealous of the daimyo. Of her silky hair color, locks, and bright eye color, orbs, of her soft skin color, skin. Until now, the Haruno had noticed that the only one Sasuke ever showed some attention to was her, so she made the assumption that her Sasuke-kun was interested in her and the princess towards him. Although, the truth was far from it. "Stop underestimating me, old man. All you do is lecture me. But you know what? I'm not the troublemaker you still think I am," yelled the Jinchuriki, turning the other way. "Okay, fine," chuckled Hiruzen, shocking everyone in the room. "If you insist, I'll have you do a C-rank mission. You'll be bodyguards for someone." Naruto stood up cheerily at that. "Honto? Dare? Who? A daimyo-sama? And a hime-sama? Don't be so hasty. I'll introduce you now. Could you please come in?" grinned the Hokage. At his signal, the door opened slowly and a drunk old man with a bottle stepped in. "Nanda, what's this?" "It's just a bunch of darned brats. Especially the shortest one with the super stupid looking face." "Are you really a ninja?" Haha, who's the shortest one with the stupid face?" laughed the blonde. His comrades gave him a look as they stood beside him, showing that it was him. "I'll kill him." Kakashi held Naruto back by the collar, sighing tiredly. "What's the point of killing the person we're supposed to protect, ahou?" The old man ignored the kid without a care, drinking from his bottle. "I'm the super expert bridge builder, Tazuna. You'll be risking life and limb in guarding me to the max until I return to my land and complete the bridge." Isn't this guy from the land of waves? Name, attention turned towards the file, making the Sandame smirk in confirmation. Now, you can go with them in place of alone. The princess growled under her breath, seeing his scheme. Anyo Gigi. The group of 6 walked out the village, each with a backpack. The moment they crossed through the gates, Naruto cheered loudly. All right. We're off. What are you so excited about? Scoffed the pink-haired girl as the blonde looked all around. Dat. I've never left the village before. Oi, am I really okay with this brat? Pointed Tazuna towards Naruto. Name, answering from behind, eyes twitching, it'll be fine. Kakashi-sensei is a Junin and is not like we're that weak either, so there's no need to worry. Damn it, this geezer is the worst client. I should tell him a thing or two. Making up his mind, the sapphire-eyed blonde yelled at the man, Hey, Gigi. Don't mess with ninjas. I'm awesome, you see. I'm a super elite ninja who will be called Hokage one day. My name's Uzumaki Naruto. Remember it well. But the older man did not give a damn. The Hokage is the village's #1 ninja, right? You sure as heck don't seem like you could become the Hokage. Ah, Urasai. I'm prepared to do whatever to become Hokage. You'll have no choice but to acknowledge me then. Tick marks appeared all over Naruto's head, Tazuna giving him a look. I'll never acknowledge you, Gaki. Even if you did become Hokage. What? I'll kill you. I told you to stop it, Anyobaka. Kakashi pulled him back once again. Meanwhile, in the shadows of the trees hid 2 shinobi with masks covering half their faces. They observed the group darkly, planning their next move. As they went on their way, Sakura suddenly turned towards the bridge builder, say. Tazuna-san? You're from the land of waves, right? What of it? Asked the man. Without bothering to reply, the emerald-eyed girl looked back at her sensei. Nay, Kakashi-sensei? Are there any shinobi in that land, too? No, not in the land of waves. But in other nations, while cultures and customs are different, hidden villages exist, and there are shinobi there. The Hitaki explained everything to do with the hidden villages from there and who the cages were, much to Sakura's and Naruto's surprise. Hokage-sama, is that incredible? Smiled Sakura, being the complete opposite on the inside. That lame geezer, is that incredible? Sounds fishy. Oh, you guys just doubted Hokage-sama now, didn't you? Questioned Kakashi, making the 2 flinch and shake their heads vigorously. Well, there's no need to worry. Usually, there are no fights in a C-rank mission. And if there are any, I'm sure we could handle it. Said, Name, with a smile, raising Sakura's jealousy for the girl at how pretty she looked and her high confidence. Hiding her true feelings, the Haruno just smiled back. Then, we won't come in contact with foreign ninjas. Mochiranda asterisk, of course. The Junin patted Sakura's head. At their conversation, Tazuna frowned deeply, something that didn't go unnoticed by the Uchiha. Without much more chatter, the shinobi and civilian continued on their way silently. Name ran a bit in front, then suddenly jumped in a small puddle of water on the road. I wonder if it hurts water to be crushed. Kakashi sent it a look, locking eyes with the princess, nodding to one another in understanding. As they passed by, 2 male figures came out of the water slowly. One of them pushed the other towards the group, their chains wrapping around Kakashi and holding him tightly. The silver-haired ninja exclaimed in a panic, the others turning towards the scene in horror. One down. With that, they ripped the man into pieces, his blood flying everywhere. Kakashi-sensei! Yelled Naruto. Before he could even react, the enemy stood behind him with their weapons drawn, his body completely paralyzing. 2 down. Like hell. In a second, Name appeared in between them and kicked the enemies away. Then, Sasuke jumped over them and threw a kunai and shuriken, trapping the men's chains on a tree. It won't come off? The guys tried to pull it out. Not giving them the opportunity, the Uchiha kicked them both in the face. Once their bodies fell backward, Name punched them, the sound of bones cracking ringing. The enemy ninjas separated from the chains and ran in different directions, one going after Tazuna and the other to give Naruto the finishing blow. Sakura sweated heavily at the approaching figure and using all her strength, she stood in front of Tazuna with a kunai in hand. Get back, sir. Sending each other a look, Name stood in front of Naruto and Sasuke in front of Sakura as the men closed in. That's when out of nowhere, Kakashi appeared and grabbed the men. Sakura smiled happily at the view, more than glad to know the man was alive. while Sasuke just glared at him, already knowing he was okay. Humph. Show off. Naruto gasped, turning towards where his sensei's body used to be, only to find a bunch of logs, so Kakashi-sensei used substitutions. What the hell, Kakashi-san? What took you so long? Name glared at him angrily. Gomen, sweated the man, then turned towards his blonde student, Naruto. Sorry I didn't help you right away. I got you hurt. I didn't think you'd be incapable of moving. Anyhow, let me just say, good job, Sasuke, Hime-sama. You, too, Sakura. Those words hit Naruto like 1,000 bricks, despising the fact that he just stood by without being able to move a muscle. I couldn't do anything. It was Sasuke's first real battle, and yet, didn't he feel scared at all? And, name, ended up saving me like always. Nothing has changed since the academy. They saved me like it was nothing, and they don't have a speck of dust on their clothes. His blue orbs quivered at the sight of the two of them standing side by side. No matter how you looked at it, they both seemed perfect together. They were both loved and respected, they were both strong, and they were both good-looking. The fact that his friend would be better off with Sasuke frightened Naruto more than anything. "Oi!" called the raven-haired male, breaking the Uzumaki's way of thoughts. "Are you hurt, scaredy cat?" The blonde growled, launching for the Uchiha, only to be stopped by the Junin, Naruto. "These guys have poison on their claws. You need to take out the poison quickly." Hearing that, the princess sprinted towards Naruto's side, not having seen the wound before, and checked his hand. "Let's see. We first have to open the wound and drain the poisoned blood from your body. Please do not move around too much or it will spread quicker. I let you get hurt, damn it." Name bit her lip, a pained look taking over her face, making the Jinchuriki blame himself for causing it. Leaving them be, Kakashi turned towards Tazuna. "By the way, Tazuna-san. I have something to talk to you about." With those final words, the masked man tied up the enemy ninjas against a tree. As the group surrounded them, the Hitaki observed their uniform. These look like Chunin from the village hidden in the mist. These shinobi are known for continuing to fight no matter what. "How were you able to detect our movements?" asked one of them. Name crouched in front of them with a shadow cast over her eyes that turned cold. "Are you guys stupid? It hasn't rained for days, you know. There's no way there would be puddles of water laying around. You knew from the beginning," scoffed one, not wanting to believe that a mere genin saw through their technique, only to receive a closed-eye smirk. "I meant the question I asked. So, did it hurt even though you were water?" "Anyo kuso gaki," growled the foreign shinobi, figuring out she did it on purpose just to bother them. Seeing the Junin's nod of approval, Tazuna glanced towards him questioningly. "If you knew that, why did you let the brats fight? If I felt like it, I could easily kill these guys instantly, but I had to know who their target was," spoke Kakashi, turning towards the confused client. What do you mean?" "In other words, what I mean is I had to know if it was you, or one of us shinobi who was being targeted. We haven't heard anything about you being targeted by shinobi. The content of the request was supposed to just be protection from gangs, thieves, and the like. This is a mission with a B rank or higher. The request was supposed to be for backup protection until you finished building your bridge. If our enemies were to be ninjas, the mission would have been estimated without question as an expensive B-rank mission. It appears you have your reason for this, but being lied to in the request won't do. This is beyond the scope of our mission. Even if you don't want to talk, we can always ask these guys," said. Name an extremely deadly aura surrounding her body as the image of her Naruto's wound ran in her mind. The enemy Chunin stared at her sweating, feeling as if they would be eaten whole by her presence alone. This is just like being in front of him. No, it's even worse. The silver-haired ninja stared at the scene in astonishment. The way she concentrated her murderous intent only on those guys, stopping it from reaching the genin and Tazuna. The former Anbu had to admit, it was powerful. Sakura was quick to suggest retreating, using the Uzumaki as an excuse. "This mission is too soon for us. Let's give it up. We need medicine for Naruto's wound. We have to return to the village and take him to a doctor." Kakashi sent the blonde a look, gaining Naruto's attention. "This sure is a burden. Since we need to treat Naruto's wound, shall we go back to the village?" Much to everyone's shock, Naruto stabbed the wound with a kunai, his blood dripping out. "Why am I so different? Why's it always me? Damn it, I should be getting stronger." Here I'm steadily carrying out missions and doing special skill training by myself every day. I'll never get into another situation from which I'll have to be rescued. I'll never be afraid or be a coward. I won't lose to Sasuke. I'm going to swear on the pain of my left hand. Dat Bayo. I'll protect you, Osan, with this kunai. The mission continues. Uzumaki Naruto's cool moment was completely ruined the moment Kakashi spoke. Naruto. It's all well and good to rid yourself of the poisoned blood, but any more than that and you'll bleed to death. Things will get hairy if you don't stop the bleeding quick. Seriously. Cue to Naruto running all over. Dame. I can't die like this, I say. Dat Bayo. Ah, Mo. Name. Punched him over the head. Just stay still and let me get a look. Stop worrying me like that, Baka. Angered, the girl grabbed his left hand and inspected the wound, finding it to be slowly healing itself. It has already started to heal. So this is the power of the Kyuubi. Hisako. Name. S eyes widened at the strange voice, not recognizing it, and looked around, noting that no one else had heard it even though it echoed so strongly. Name. Called Naruto, beginning to tremble uncontrollably. Am I okay? You look awfully serious. I.e., you should be just fine. Smiled the princess shakily and placed a hand over the wound, a clear green chakra enveloping it and sealing the gash completely as the others stared in surprise. The daimyo acted like usual on the outside as they went on their way, but her mind was completely filled with what happened while she was in contact with the red chakra. Who was this Hisako person? And who was it that called her name? In the meantime, in a hidden base deep inside the forest erupted the yells of rage from a certain man. You failed? I paid a lot of money to hire you guys because you said you were very strong ninjas. The man was short and wore a suit and sunglasses. He stood in front of 3 bowing ninjas and a much bigger one that leaned in his chair lazily. Stop your darned bitching. The man pointed his huge sword towards his employer. Next time, Ore-sama will kill him with this head chopper. It's really okay, right? It seems that the enemy has hired good shinobi. And with the failure of the demon brothers, they'll be better prepared. Quivered the shorter man. However, this only infuriated the ninja. Just who do you think I am? This Momochi Zabuza, who is called the demon of the hidden mist. The ninjas and bridge builder passed through a foggy lake in a small boat to get to the land of waves. A man rowing quietly as the genin looked around in awe. The bridge should be visible soon. When we reach the side of the bridge, we'll be in the land of waves. Announced the rower. On cue, the enormous construction appeared in front of their eyes, not even the mist able to hide it. Naruto's eyes sparkled the moment he saw it, yelling in excitement, wow! It's huge. Kate Quora, please keep it down. Scolded the rower, sweating heavily. Why do you think we are hiding in the mist and not using the engine? If they find us, we'll be in deep trouble. The blonde covered his mouth hurriedly, the other genin looking at the man questioningly. Seeing this as the best opportunity, Kakashi turned towards Tazuna, expecting the man to finally give them an explanation. Tazuna-san, I want to ask you something before we arrive at the pier. The identity of your assailants, and the reason why they are after you. If you don't tell us, our mission may end when you make landfall. The shinobi waited patiently for the man to talk, their eyes locked on him the whole time. After a while, Tazuna looked up at them. It appears I have no choice but to tell you. Frankly, I'd like you to listen. Just as you said, this may be beyond the scope of your mission. Actually, I am being targeted by a terrifying man. A terrifying man? Who? Asked the Junin softly. You guys have probably heard at least his name before. A shipping magnate by the name of Gato. At his answer, Kakashi opened his one eye wide, completely taken by surprise. What? Gato? Of the Gato Company? One of the world's richest men? Name? Placed a finger on her chin, nodding in understanding. That's just on the surface, though, Kakashi-san. Officially he runs a large shipping company, but in reality, he sells all kinds of illegal items. Going as far as using shinobi and gangs to take over businesses and countries. That's right, Ojochin, smiled Tazuna at the princess, but it vanished just as quickly from his face at the remembrance of what Gato had done to his home and family. About a year ago that same man fixed his eyes on the land of waves. He used his wealth and violence to enter this country, and before anyone knew it, he had taken complete control of the island's maritime transportation and shipping. Having a tight grip on the ocean, in an island nation like the land of waves, means having control of finance, the government, the people, everything. The one thing Gato fears is the completion of the bridge. Sokka, since you're the one building the bridge, you become a hindrance, muttered Sakura with her hand on her chin. Sasuke trailing off at the learned information. Then, those shinobi from before were Gato's men. Name, puffing a sigh at the news, most probably. While Naruto just stared at the older man in complete confusion, not getting a thing. But I don't understand. Your opponent is a dangerous one, who will even use shinobi. Why did you hide that fact from us when you made your request? Asked the Hokage. The bridge builder looked down at his feet. The land of waves is a very poor nation, and even daimyo have no money. Of course, we ordinary citizens have no money either. We cannot afford to make requests of B rank or higher. The ninjas stared at the man in pity, that is until his tone completely changed. Well, if you pull out of the mission when I land ashore, I will, no doubt, be killed. Killed sometime before I make it home. But there's no need for concern. Should I die, my cute grandchild who will turn 8, will only cry his heart out. And my daughter will only blame Konoha shinobi for the rest of her life and grieve in solitude. Oh, it's not your fault at all. The ninja's sweat dropping at the man's obvious plan. There's no need for that, Tazuna-san. Spoke, named, with her eyes twitching, gaining everyone's attention, and grinned as her head leaned on her hand. My mission here was to capture Gato. So I guess we'll have to work together. They were all extremely shocked at this, looking at her incredulously, while the princess just sighed without a care. Onyokuso Ohashi probably knew about Tazuna-san and that's why he sent you guys on this mission. Sigh. Well, it can't be helped. Kakashi became depressed, not wanting to do the job at all. Just then, the land became visible through the fog as they closed in. The boat went through a tunnel, coming out to a side that was much brighter and clear. They moved closer to the shore, broken down houses around them, showing them in just what kinds of conditions these people were being forced to live in. This is as far as I go. Goodbye and good luck. Saying that the rower departed back into the sea as fast as he could, now using the motor. All former depression gone, Tazuna cheered on with much energy. Yosha. Get me home safely. Hi, muttered the masked man, still scowling. When they next attack, it won't be Chunin, but elite level Junin. Yar. As they continued peacefully on their way, Sakura leaned closer to Name, with narrowed eyes. By the way, Name, Sama. Are you by any chance interested in Sasuke-kun? Sasuke. A scowl formed on her face at the thought. No way. However, the pink-haired girl wasn't satisfied and went to press on. But you guys are. There. Naruto suddenly threw a kunai into the bushes, scaring the hell out of everyone. Their eyes bulged out as everything stood still. The Uzumaki though just tried to keep the cool facade. Hey, it was just a mouse. Quit trying to show off. There was nothing there, screeched Sakura, the sensei joining right in. Stop it, Naruto. Don't use kunai recklessly. They are really dangerous. Hey midget, stop acting like a moron, growled Tazuna, being the one that was scared the most. However, the blonde just ignored them and kept looking around. Huh? I sense a presence there. No, over here? There. With that, he threw another kunai into the bushes, only to receive a punch from Sakura. Stop it, already. Mo, you're scaring Tazuna-san, baka. Name, crossed her arms and stood beside him. Holding his head in pain, Naruto tried to explain, someone's really been targeting us the whole time. Dat Bayo. Just as the Haruno lectured him once again, Kakashi went through the bushes, finding a poor white rabbit crying to death with the kunai close to its head. As the rest moved closer the poor animal, Sakura yelled at the male who had caused the whole thing. Naruto. What have you done? It's a bunny. The Jinchuriki ran towards the rabbit, cradling it in his arms. Gomen yo. I didn't mean to. I'm sorry, bunny. The old man sighed in relief. Unlike the Junin who moved his dark orb around the forest, the Uchiha and, surname, also seeing what was going on. The silver-haired shinobi analyzed the situation, not letting his guard down for a second. That's a snow rabbit. Yet it's spring. What's with its color? The coat turns white only during winter when there is little sunlight. Which means that snow rabbit was raised indoors without sunlight to be used as a substitution. Guess they're here already. Everyone, get down. The group hurriedly laid down on the grass, just in time for a huge sword to pass over their heads and pierce a tree. On top of the weapon appeared a muscly man with no shirt and bandages covering his mouth. Kakashi instantly recognized the ninja, keeping his eye on him. If I'm not mistaken, he's... That's... gasped the princess with widened eyes, the enemy returning her stare. Hee. Here's my chance. I won't lose to Sasuke. Sweated Naruto heavily, ready to sprint off towards the man at any second. The Hokage stepped closer towards the enemy, acting all calm. Well. If it isn't the missing nin of Kirigakure, Momochi Zabuza-kun. Naruto stared in confusion at the word, but not giving it more thought, he ran forward, only for name to hold him back. Baka, there's no way any of us can go against that guy's level. Right now only Kakashi-san stands a chance. Him being my opponent means that things might be tricky as I am now. Saying that, the sensei placed a hand on his headband, making Zabuza chuckle. I assume you are Kakashi, the Sharingan user. Sorry, but I'll have you hand over the Jiji. Sakura and Tazuna stared at the Konoha in worry and confusion. Sasuke narrowing his eyes towards his sensei at the mention of the Sharingan. And, name, keeping her eye color, orbs locked on Zabuza as sweat ran down her face. While Naruto, well, he had no idea what was going on. Get in Manji battle formation, you guys. Protect Tazuna-san. Don't involve yourselves in the fight. That's the teamwork in this situation. Ordered Kakashi firmly, and lifted his headband, showing his scarred left eye. Fight me. His left eye was completely red but for 3 black comas that swirled around. Ah, I never expected to see the rumored Sharingan this soon. This is an honor, said the missing nin, only puzzling the blonde even more. Everyone's been saying Sharingan. Nanda Sore? Sasuke lowered his black orbs, explaining vaguely, Sharingan. The user of the so-called Dujutsu is said to possess the vision to see through all Genjutsu, Taijutsu, and Ninjutsu, and is able to defect them. The Sharingan is a type of eye that is unique to the user of the Dujutsu. However, that is not the only power of the Sharingan. Well said, that is not all. What's more frightening is that such an eye can assess an opponent's techniques and copy them. As Zabuza spoke, a heavy fog began covering the whole area. When I was in the Anbu Black Ops of Kirigakure, search information about you was in the bingo book one would carry around with me. And this is what it said. The man who has copied over a 1000 jutsu. Copy Ninja Kakashi. While the others seemed to be in awe or impressed by this, Sasuke frowned heavily. What does this mean? The Sharingan is a special trait that appears in only a select few members of the Uchiha clan. Could he be? Let's end the talking here. I must kill that Jiji immediately. At Zabuza's words, the genin surrounded Tazuna as the sensei had instructed, the enemy just staring at them without a care. But, Kakashi, it seems I have to defeat you first. Saying that, Zabuza vanished, reappearing in the lake beside them and standing in its waters. What's he planning to do with that much chakra? Wondered, narrowing her eyes, more so when the mist around them began to thicken to the point that nothing could be seen. The missing nin had an arm pointing up, the mist surrounding him more strongly than anywhere else and spreading through the area. Ninpo, Kirigakure no Jutsu. He's gone, exclaimed Naruto in disbelief, the other genin looking from one side to the other. Calmly, Kakashi stepped in front of them. He'll probably come to erase me first. What is that guy? Questioned Sakura in fear. Sweat ran down S cheek as her orbs moved around. His name is Momochi Zabuza. He used to be a member of the Anbu Black Ops in Kirigakure before he became a missing nin. He was best known for his silent killing. Let's just say that you would be dead before you even know it. He also used to be part of a pretty dangerous criminal organization. That being said, you guys have to be careful. I haven't totally mastered the use of my Sharingan. Hearing that, Sakura and Naruto sweated, Sasuke trying to hold back his own fear. They had seen how strong their sensei was, so for him to be wary of this enemy they knew he had to be pretty dangerous. Well, if we fail, we'll only die. Joked the Junin, pissing off the pink-haired girl. How can you be so carefree? Suddenly, the fog slowly became thicker and denser, making things harder to see. The mist is steadily getting thicker. Datbeo, gasped the blonde, the old man explaining the reason. The land of waves is surrounded by ocean. So mist rises very easily. As it became stronger, Kakashi disappeared from their sight and they were left all alone in that dangerous situation they were stuck in. Suddenly, Zabuza's voice resounded all over, 8 choices. Larynx, spine, lungs, liver, subclavian veins, brain, kidneys, heart. Which one should I go after? A couple of seconds passed when abruptly, the Hokage released an immense amount of his own chakra and pushed the fog away. Sasuke stared with terror towards his sensei, his whole form trembling as he closed his kunai towards his stomach. What an intense thirst for blood. If I take even one breath or move my eyes, I will be marked and killed. That's what I'm feeling. If I'm stuck like this for an hour, I'll go mad. Facing a Junin's intent to kill. This sensation is like having my life being held in limbo. No way. I'd rather die to escape this feeling. Sasuke. Kakashi broke his way of thought. Don't worry. I'll protect you with my life. I will not allow my comrades to get killed. As he smiled towards them, the genin sighed in relief. However, that was short-lived. I wonder about that. Zabuza suddenly stood in between the genin. It's over. His gigantic sword went to slash Tazuna, only for it to be stopped by another sword. Name S. No, it's not. They tried to push the other with all their strength, both not able to move an inch at the power of the other's hit. You shouldn't have done that, Ahima-chan. The bounty for your head is even greater. Chuckled Zabuza darkly as he pushed stronger, but she just smirked at him. You won't be getting it though. Then, Kakashi stabbed the man in the back, giving the princess the chance to move away with the old man. However, out of the enemy only came water and then it exploded, another Zabuza appearing behind Kakashi. Zabuza immediately slashed the Hokage in half and grinned in victory. But just like he had done, Kakashi turned into water. Zabuza stared in disbelief at his own jutsu being performed by the enemy in seconds, Mizu Bunshin no Jutsu. Masaka. In this mist, did he actually copy me? Don't move. Kakashi put a kunai to his throat, repeating the same words the enemy had said before, it's over. Naruto and Sakura were the first to express their happiness at the battle ending and at how cool their sensei had seemed for that short period of time. The other two genin letting out a sigh. But Zabuza was not worried at all. He. Did you say it's over? You don't understand, do you? There's no way you can defeat me with your monkey-like imitations. No chance. But I must say you're good. My Mizu Bunshin no Jutsu was being copied at that point. Don't worry. I'll protect you with my life. I will not allow my comrades to get killed. Kakashi smiled back at the genin. By letting the clone talk as if it were you, you succeeded in distracting me. And you used Kirigakure no Jutsu to hide yourself to see what I was going to do. Reasoned Zabuza, Kakashi's eyes widening. Kido. He appeared behind Kakashi. I'm also not that easy. The Zabuza in front of the sensei turned to water, making Naruto shout in panic. That one was a fake, too? The missing nin went to slash Kakashi, the Konoha shinobi crouching down. In a split second, Zabuza let go of his sword's handle and went for a kick, sending the silver-haired ninja flying into the water. Zabuza sprinted towards where the man was at, stopping as he found a bunch of Makibishi spikes on his way. Not giving a damn about it, the Kirigakure Junin disappeared. How foolish. Kakashi-sensei, cried Naruto. That's Momochi Zabuza for you. He's strong. Name, gritted her teeth. Sakura sweating at the scene. Kakashi-sensei got knocked down? He's also strong in taijutsu. Growled Sasuke lowly. What's with this water? It's awfully heavy, thought the Konoha Junin, when suddenly, Momochi Zabuza stood behind him, doing some hand signs. Humph. Fool. Ugoku Suiru no Jutsu. Before Kakashi could do anything, water surrounded him until he was completely trapped in a bubble. Zabuza stood beside him with his hand never letting go of the bubble. You may have been trying to escape to the water, but that was a big mistake. I now have you in my inescapable special prison. It makes things tougher if you can move, you know? Now, Kakashi, I'll have to settle things with you later. First, I will finish those guys off. Mizu Bunshin no Jutsu. Using only his left hand, Zabuza made the signs necessary and a copy of himself came from the water, walking towards the genin slowly. You're acting big, wearing a headband like a shinobi. But a real ninja is one who has hovered between life and death numerous times. In other words, only those who are worth being listed in my bingo book deserve to be called a ninja. Guys like you can't be called real ninja. Spoke the clone, creating more fog and vanishing in it. He's disappearing again. gasped the blonde when suddenly, Zabuza kicked him away. Naruto's headband fell off at the hit, the former Anbu stepping on it without a care. "You're just a kid." Naruto, name, went to go to his side, only for Sasuke to hold her back. "Baka, what do you think you're doing? You'll get killed if you run blindly towards them. I can't have you dying while on my watch. Let me go, Sasuke. You four, take Tazuna-san and run. You have no chance against this guy. As long as he has me trapped in this water prison, he won't be able to move from here. And he shouldn't be able to use the Mizu Bunshin no Jutsu if he's far enough away from his real body. In any case, just run for now," ordered Kakashi, wanting to keep them safe more than anything. Name bit her lip at his words, knowing that wasn't a choice. "Don't joke around with me. Leaving him behind is not an option. Not to mention that we would be dead soon enough without him." Thinking just the same, Sasuke sprinted towards Zabuza at full speed, avoiding his sword and jumped over him. However, the Junin grabbed him by the throat and threw him away. Too easy. Naruto laid on the ground, shaking uncontrollably as the Junin glared down at him. This is the Junin level. A real ninja. We've got to run. At this rate, we'll be killed. Just as he went to run away, Naruto felt a slight pain in his left hand and looked down, his face softening at the memory. "I'll never get into another situation from which I'll have to be rescued. I'll never be afraid or be a coward. I won't lose to Sasuke. I'm going to swear on the pain of my left hand. Datbeo, I'll protect you, Osan, with this kunai." The mission continues. "Are you hurt, scaredy cat?" smirked Sasuke. Then his sapphire orbs trailed towards his headband below Zabuza's foot, reminding himself why he got it and whose it was. "Can I borrow that leaf headband for a while?" pleaded the blonde. The scarred brunette held his headband with a beam. Dame. This is worn only by those who have graduated from the ninja academy. Tomorrow, you will." Iruka laid injured against a tree, motioning for the Uzumaki to get closer. "Naruto, come over here. I'd like to give you something. Congratulations on your graduation," smiled Iruka, name, joining in. "Ah, it looks good on you, Naruto. That's because you're all squirts who don't have the qualifications to become ninjas," reprimanded Kakashi. The Hitaki stood up from Sasuke and placed his kunai away. "Missions are all risky assignments. You pass. Stop underestimating me, old man. All you do is lecture me. But you know what? I'm not the troublemaker you still think I am," yelled the Jinchuriki, turning the other way. "And my future dream is to surpass the Hokage. And then have all the people of this village acknowledge my existence." Naruto stood up with all his courage back, glaring at the enemy heatedly. "That's right. I became a ninja and decided I wouldn't run away anymore. I won't run. Uahhh. With a battle cry, Uzumaki Naruto ran towards Zabuza head-on. The other three genin panicking at his bold move. "Naruto, what are you thinking? Come back here, you idiot, I'm gonna kill you." "Humph. Fool," scoffed Zabuza, easily kicking him off. The blonde was pushed towards the group, his body filled with scrapes as he struggled to stand up. Not wasting any time, the hair-haired girl ran towards him and crouched beside him, crushing his head with a dark glare. "Do you have a death wish or something, Bakayaro?" "Whaa. Name, cried Naruto as he tried to get out of her hold, failing miserably. Then, her eyes fell on the headband in his hand and her eyes softened. "You're really an idiot." Everyone's eyes also fell on the headband, quite surprised he had done something so risky just to get it back. "Hey, you with no eyebrows." Naruto sent him a glare, placing the headband back on its place. "Record this in your bingo book. About the man who will one day become Konohagakure no Sato Hokage. Konoha Ninja, Uzumaki Naruto." Zabuza's body shook in anger at the boy's impertinence. Naruto's blue orbs did not leave Zabuza as he spoke with a grin. "Name, Sasuke. Lend me your ear. I have a plan." "Humph. You are talking of teamwork?" scoffed the Uchiha. Only to have the surname draw him with her towards the blonde. "Who cares, we might as well listen. It's not like you have any better ideas. Now, let's get wild." The area stood in silence for a while, until Zabuza chuckled darkly at them. "A lot of arrogance, but do you stand a chance?" "This is bad," thought Kakashi in fear of losing them. "What are you guys doing? I told you to run. It was obvious what was going to happen once I was caught. Hurry, run, listen to me." Our mission is to protect Tazuna-san. Have you forgotten that? Old man trailed off the Uzumaki, looking back at the bridge builder. Tazuna looked down in silence, then looked up with a beam. Nani? This is a seed that I planted. I can't say that I want my life to be spared. Sorry, you guys. Fight as much as you want. Getting his approval, the genin smiled back toward the sensei. You hear that? Grinned Sasuke. Now there is nothing stopping us. Name crossed her arms. Are you ready? Naruto smiled widely. Ha, ha ha, ha ha ha. You guys really haven't learned anything, have you? You're still playing at being ninja? When I was your age, this hand was already stained red with blood. Everyone stared at the man in horror at the prospect of such a young child taking a life. The demon Zabuza, said the Hokage, making said man smirk widely. Oh. It seems that you've heard of me. A long time ago, in the Kirigakure no Sato, often called the town of Blood Mist, ninja candidates faced their biggest hurdle. Began Kakashi, causing a smirk to grow on the enemy. So you also know about that graduation exam? That graduation exam? Asked Naruto, growing more irritated when the dark-haired Junin began laughing. What is it, Datbeo? This graduation exam that you're talking about? Zabuza stared at the genin darkly, his words shocking them. Fights to the death between the students. Friends who have trained and eaten at the same table are pitted against each other and go at it, until one of them loses his life. Partners who had helped each other and shared dreams. Hidoi asterisk. How cruel, trembled Sakura, tears threatening to fall. 10 years ago, Kirigakure no Sato's graduation exam was forced to undergo drastic reform. That was because an evil demon had appeared on the scene the previous year. Continued Kakashi. But this only left more questions than answers, the pink-haired ninja voicing it out hesitantly. Reform? What about the reform? What had that evil demon done? With no scruples or hesitation. A young boy who didn't even have the qualifications for being a ninja, annihilated over 100 examinees. Finally finished Kakashi. Momochi Zabuza stood in silence for a moment, then smiled sinisterly. That sure was fun. He turned his eyes towards them, in a flash punching Sasuke away and kicking him in the stomach, making him spit blood. With no care for the child's lives, Zabuza pressed his foot against his stomach harder and harder. Shinyu. Kakashi growled from his water prison, his veins popping as he glared at Zabuza. Kuso. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, snarled Naruto, creating dozens of himself and surrounding Zabuza with them. Ah, Kage Bunshin, and there are quite a few of them, muttered Zabuza, slightly impressed but not expecting much out of them. All the Narutos took out a kunai and jumped towards the former Anbu. The man became impossible to see as the many Narutos covered him, when suddenly he pushed them all away with his sword and all vanished. Zabuza smirked, only for Name to come out of the smoke and jump towards him with her katana. Both their weapons clashed once again, creating a force of wind that pushed the mist away. Anyo Kuso Gaki, growled the man as he glared at the girl. With his attention away from Naruto, the boy took the opportunity to pull a weapon out of his backpack and throw it towards Sasuke. There's only one way left to defeat this guy. Sasuke. The moment he caught it, the Uchiha grinned in understanding, opening the weapon into its real form. I see. So that's your plan, Naruto. That's pretty good for you. Fuma Shuriken, Kage Fusha. Hayaku, Sasuke. Hurry up, Sasuke, yelled Name, as she kept pushing against the clone. Believing to know their plan, the missing nin chuckled. That won't work against me. It's not supposed to, smirked the haired princess. Cue to the shuriken passing right by them and flying towards the real Zabuza. You shouldn't let your guard down. At her words, the clone turned towards the girl, seeing a second sword on her other hand. You're a clone, right? Just a single scratch and you're gone. In a flash, she stabbed the weapon through the clone and it turned into water, shocking Sakura and Tazuna, Zabuza narrowing his eyes. Naruhodo, you're aiming for my real body. But, as the shuriken approached him, Zabuza simply grabbed it. It's not so easy. However, another one came towards him without him noticing, another one in the shuriken's shadow. But, still not enough. Zabuza jumped over the weapon. Everything seemed lost, but Sasuke and Name let out a grin. Cue to the shuriken turning into Naruto from behind Zabuza. Here it is. A kunai flew from Naruto's hand towards the man. Zabuza had no choice but to move away and let go of the water prison, freeing Kakashi. In pure rage, Zabuza launched towards Naruto with the shuriken in hand, ready to cut him into pieces, Kono Gaki. Blood splattered up, but it wasn't Naruto's. Kakashi had stopped the weapon with his hand and now stood glaring at the man murderously. Even Momochi Zabuza couldn't help but be frightened by him. "Naruto, your strategy was outstanding. You guys have grown up," complimented the sensei. The blonde floated in the water all soaked up as he laughed, hee hee. The purpose of the cage bunshin was not to take down Zabuza, but to hide my transformation into Fuma Shuriken and so that name could attack the clone without getting noticed. Then the clone grabs the shuriken, passes it to Sasuke, and Sasuke combines it with a shuriken he had and throws it. And name was able to easily defeat your clone while it was distracted. Hidden in the shadow of the real shuriken, I aimed for Zabuza. Of course, I didn't think I would defeat Zabuza, but I thought I'd destroy the water prison. It was a huge success, Dat Bayo. That was a fluke. Grinned, Name, and Sasuke proudly, surprising the old man. It was a fluke. On the other hand, Sakura had to give it to them. Their teamwork had been impressive, more so with someone who wasn't even part of their team. Still, they performed outstandingly in tandem, in this desperate situation. Humph, I got distracted and released the jutsu. Spat Zabuza, not wanting to accept that he was outsmarted by 3 kids. Kakashi corrected him, which just pissed the missing nin. That's not it. You didn't break the jutsu. They forced you to break it. I'll tell you now, the same jutsu won't work on me twice. So what will you do? Angered, Zabuza strengthened the force he placed on the shuriken and pushed it against Kakashi. The sensei put even more force and sent the weapon flying off. Both Junin jumped away from each other and began forming the exact same hand signs, at the exact same time. Suiden. Suiryuden no Jutsu. 2 identical dragons came forth from the water and fought against each other, their bodies seeming to dance as they intertwined with one another. The force of the attacks creating waves that carried Naruto away and nearly pushed the other 4 on land away. He copied that chant in seconds, and so perfectly. Sasuke looked at the scene in awe. Sakura not believing her eyes at the massive attack. What is that jutsu? Is it ninjutsu? Name whistled at the technique, smiling lightly, as expected from you, Hitaki Kakashi. Losing their dragons, the Junin began fighting with their weapons, both of them making the same moves, something that bothered Zabuza to no end. Strange. What is going on? The Sharingan is the ability to memorize and copy the enemy's jutsu, but the jutsu was set in motion at the same time. By any chance, is this guy? They jumped away from each other, running the same way and in the same direction, then stopped at the same time. Both placing their hands in the same hand sign together. Zabuza got out of the stance, staring at Kakashi hardly. This guy. My movements. He's perfectly reading them. Finished the Hitaki, scaring the missing nin as he looked directly at the Sharingan. What? He's reading my mind? Kuso. That freaky eye is pissing me off. Right? Finished the sensei once again. Trying to act confident, Zabuza scoffed, making another hand sign. Hey. All you're doing is copying me. You're a pale imitation. Then both spoke at the same thing at the same time. You won't be able to beat me. You monkey bastard. Angered and afraid, Zabuza continued with the hand signs. I'll shut that copycat monkey mouth permanently. His dark orbs trailed behind Kakashi, finding none other than himself. Sunna Baka na. Is that his genjutsu? Using his distraction, Kakashi finished the jutsu on his own, stunning Zabuza even more. Sweden. Daibakufu no jutsu. Nani? Gasped the missing nin as water surrounded Kakashi and shot towards him, pushing Zabuza against the trees. No way. Gwa. I was just about to set forth that jutsu. I can't keep up with his jutsu. Trees were completely destroyed by the power the attack had. Zabuza crashed against a tree, his body weakly leaning against it when kunai pierced him on his arms and legs, rendering him unable to move. It's over, said Kakashi for the second time, expecting it to be the last. The water began to dry as Zabuza stared at the man on what could be described as fear. How? Are you able to see into the future? Yeah, you're going to die. Suddenly, senbon needles pierced Zabuza's neck and killed him, the man falling to the ground lifeless. Everyone turned towards where they came from, finding a young boy with an Anbu mask and long, black locks standing on a tree branch. Hee. You were right. He died. Wanting to make sure for himself, the Hitaki teleported towards where the body laid and checked his pulse. He's definitely dead. Arigato gozaimashita. Slightly bowed the boy. I have been waiting for the chance to kill Zabuza. Kakashi stared at the boy silently for a moment, analyzing his every move. By the looks of that mask, you're a hunter nin from Kirigakure no Sato. Impressive. You're very acknowledgeable, complimented the stranger, not sounding as if he meant it. Naruto growled at the male hunter nin name, eyes twitching as she had explained it to him before after he slept throughout one of their classes back at the academy. Didn't I tell you before? They hunt down guys like Zabuza who left their village and are deemed traitors for such. They have to assassinate these people to avoid having any secrets or jutsu leaking out to their village's enemies. Though, that guy. Something doesn't feel right. That's right. I'm a member of the Kirigakure's tracking unit whose mission is to hunt missing nin. Continued the unknown boy. The gray-haired man keeping his eyes on him. From his height and voice, he's not that much older than Naruto, yet he's a hunter nin. He's not just an ordinary kid. Naruto sprinted towards the stranger, glaring at him with gritted teeth as he looked at the boy and Zabuza. What the hell? Who are you, Dabbeo? Don't worry, Naruto. He's not an enemy. Kakashi stood up and went towards him. But his answer just pissed the blonde off even more. That's not what I'm asking. I mean, that Zabuza was killed. That guy who was so strong. He was killed so easily by a kid who's no different than me. We look stupid. I can't accept that. Well, I understand your disbelief. But this, too, is reality. The Hitaki patted Naruto's head as he spoke. In this world, there are kids who are younger than you, yet stronger than me. He just huffed and turned away. Seeing everything calm now, the hunter nin teleported beside Zabuza and placed the body on his back. Your battle is over for now. I must get rid of this corpse because it contains so many secrets. Now then, please excuse me. Wind enveloped the two figures and they vanished. He's gone. The Uzumaki looked from one side to the other searching for them, making the sensei sigh. He's not here anymore. Furious and irritated, Naruto punched the ground as hard he could, the others watching him in understanding. What was all this for, Dabbeo? What are we anyway? Kuso. A small hand was placed on his shoulder, stopping him. Name, sitting behind him. There's nothing we can do to change what has already happened. The only thing you can do is to become stronger and use all that pent-up anger you have now for the next time. This is not over yet, after all. Naruto relaxed his form, his sapphire orbs still staring down at the ground. Releasing all the tension in his body, Kakashi lowered his headband to cover his left eye. Sigh. Now, we have to get Tazuna-san back to his home. Let's go. Ha ha ha. So sorry, everyone. You can rest at my house. Cheered the bridge builder full of energy. Yosha, let's perk up and go, said Kakashi, then suddenly fell to the ground unconscious. Worried, the others ran towards him quickly. What happened? Kakashi-sensei. Kakashi-sensei laid on a futon in one of the rooms in Tazuna's house. His whole body felt exhausted after his battle with Zabuza and he could barely move a muscle. You really overused your Sharingan this time, Kakashi-san. Scolded the surname princess, her hands covered in a green light, pressed on the middle of his chest. Asuka-sensei would be really mad if something happened to you. Kakashi chuckled lightly, sweat dropping as the image of said woman appeared in his mind. She would definitely kill him when they got back. Thank you for this, the silver-haired ninja said, glancing towards the daimyo who just smiled at him. It's no problem at all. I just wish I had learned this technique earlier. The Hitaki didn't respond, knowing exactly how much she blamed herself for all those deaths 3 years ago, mainly her brothers. Then a dark blue-haired woman approached the two, staring at the man in concern. Are you alright, sensei? Yeah, it will be just hard to move for about a week. Replied back the Hitaki softly, trying to sit up only to feel the pain coursing through his body. Right away, Name pushed him down. You can't be moving around just yet, sensei. At least let me finish treating you. Oh okay. Just then, Naruto and the others came through the door with the client, the blonde gasping in happiness and relief. Hey. Sensei's awake, Dabbeo. Sakura went to the Junin's side, sitting beside the hair-color-haired ninja. Come on. Your Sharingan is incredible, but if it puts that much of a strain on your body, it may not be worth it. I'm sorry, muttered Kakashi, Tazuna just laughing it off to take away the tension, but you know, he did take down a real powerful ninja like that. We probably don't need to worry for a while. By the way, that kid with the mask. Who is he? Wondered the pink-haired girl with a thinking face. Staring up at the ceiling, Kakashi answered, he was an Anbu Black Ops from the Kirigakure. It's a mask that the Elite Ninja Tracking Unit wears. The Elite Ninja Tracking Unit? Gasped Sakura. I'm surprised you don't know about them. Said, name, the light disappearing from her hands and she placed them on her lap. They are also known as body erasers because their job is to completely dispose of bodies without leaving a trace of that shinobi ever existing. Humming in approval, the Hitaki continued, the body of a ninja reveals a variety of things. Ninjutsu secrets and chakra characteristics which permeate the ninja of their village. The composition of secret medicines used on a ninja's body. For instance, if I were to die, every secret about my Sharingan would be investigated thoroughly, and in the worst case, there's a danger that my entire jutsu could be stolen. In other words, hunter nin are specialists that prevent village secrets from leaking out by killing missing nin who've run away from their village, and completely eliminate their bodies. Meanwhile, somewhere deep in the forest, Zabuza's body laid on the ground with the Anbu hovering over him, scissors in hand as they moved closer to the man. First, I'll cut the mouth cloth and have him spit up blood. That's all right. Zabuza grabbed his right arm with a crazed look, removing the bandages around his mouth. I'll do it myself. Not flinching in the slightest at his tone or him being alive, the boy muttered, Nanda. You've already come back to life. Titaku, you really are rough. Zabuza sat up and pulled off the senbon needles from the back of his neck roughly. Haku staring at the Junin in worry at his actions. You too, Zabuza-san. Please don't pull them out so violently or you really will die. Scoffing, Zabuza threw the senbon on the ground and turned towards his companion. How long do you plan on keeping that shady-looking mask on? Take it off. It's a relic from the past, and it's been handy for trickery. His small hand grabbed the mask and pulled it off, revealing the face of a young and pretty girl boy. But if I hadn't rescued you, you certainly would have been killed. If you were going to put me into a state of apparent death, you didn't need to aim for the secret opening on my neck. You're really a nasty one, growled Zabuza, pulling his bandage back on. As the boy just chuckled, it couldn't be helped. Besides, I didn't want to mark up your beautiful body. And also, I can aim more accurately on the point on the neck where there's no muscle. Not answering to that, Zabuza tried to stand, only to feel his whole body go numb. You shouldn't be able to move much for about a week, explained Haku with a smile, but since you're Zabuza-san, perhaps you'll soon be able to move. The Junin glanced at the boy, staying quiet for a moment. You're so innocent, smart, and untainted. That's what I like about you. I am, after all, still a child. Chuckled Haku with a blush, then stood up and turned his eyes away. The fog has lifted. Next time, will you be alright? Zabuza growled, his eyes glaring. The next time, I'll be able to see right through the Sharingan. Hitaki Kakashi held his head as a bad feeling surged through his form. What is this? Even though Zabuza is dead, this indescribable uneasiness. It must mean something very important. I have a feeling I've overlooked something. What's going on, sensei? Wondered Naruto at the expression the Junin was making. Said man turned back towards the genin startled. What? Oh, so to continue my earlier story. Hunter Nen, take care of the bodies of people they've killed, immediately and on the spot. Hearing those words, name, eye color, orbs widened as she turned towards the man quickly. Don't tell me. Sakura staring at him questioningly. So what about that? What did that kid with the mask do with Zabuza? Questioned Kakashi, the pink-haired girl giving the obvious answer. How should we know? That masked guy took the body with him. That's right. If he had needed proof of his work, he could simply have taken the head. And the question is, the weapon the hunter Nin used to kill Zabuza. A regular senbon. Muttered Sasuke, his dark eyes widening in understanding. Masaka. Observing the expressions on both the surname and Uchiha, Kakashi nodded in confirmation. Right. Exactly. Annoyed by the one-sided conversation, Tazuna stepped in. What have you guys been clamoring on and on about? It's probably that Zabuza is alive. Hearing the Junin, Tazuna, Sakura, and Naruto stared at the man and began sweating heavily. Tsunami having no idea what they were talking about. What the heck do you mean? Cried out Naruto, Sakura joining right in, but Kakashi-sensei, you made sure that he was dead. It's true, I did make sure. But, he was probably just in a state of near death. Explained Kakashi with a serious face, scaring the others even more. The senbon that Hunter Nin used has a very low ability to kill unless it hits a vital spot. It's something that was originally used for medical treatments such as acupuncture therapy. Hunter Nin know all about the structure of the human body. Putting people into a state of apparent near death is probably simple for them. Name closed her eyes and hummed and thought, that makes sense. He took Zabuza's body with him even though it must have been heavy for a kid like him. Moreover, he used a senbon which has a low killing probability. The Hitaki nodded in her direction. These two factors indicate that his motive was not to kill Zabuza, but to save him. Aren't you reading way too much into it? Questioned Tazuna, really not wanting to have to deal with that Junin ever again. Unfortunately for him, Kakashi disagreed. If something seems fishy, make preparations before it's too late. That's also an ironclad rule of the shinobi. Finishing his explanation, the sensei turned towards Naruto, finding the boy to be shaking. But it was not of fear, but of excitement. This action made Kakashi chuckle under his breath, humph. To hear that Zabuza may be alive and to be pleased. Sensei, what do we do to make preparations before it's too late? You won't even be able to move for a while, asked Sakura, interrupting his way of thought. At her question, the man snickered suddenly, confusing the girl as he answered, I'll assign you training. Show TTO mat yo. Even with training, we're not gonna be that strong. Interjected the pink-haired girl, our opponent is a ninja whom even you, with the Sharingan, had a tough fight with. Are you trying to kill us? Shanaru. Sakura. Who was it that saved me during my difficult battle? Spoke the Junin, a small smile growing below his mask. You've all quickly grown. Especially Naruto. You've grown the most. Naruto beamed brightly at that, not taking notice of the glance the Haruno was giving him. He clearly seems somewhat stronger than before, but... So you noticed, Kakashi-sensei. Now it's getting interesting, exclaimed the blonde in pure excitement, smiling at him. This time it will be also against that masked guy. He should be pretty strong, too, Naruto. It's not interesting at all. At the voice, the group turned around, only to find a young boy glaring at them. Who the hell are you? Yelled Naruto, not receiving an answer as the kid ran towards Tazuna happily, the older man opening his arms widely and hugging him. Hey, Inari. Where've you been? Okari. Ji-san. Hugged back Inari. Tsunami walked towards the two, scolding the boy for his attitude. Inari, what sort of greeting is that? These are the ninja who escorted your grandpa. On the contrary, Tazuna just stroked the kid's head with a smile. It's okay, it's okay. Right, Inari? The boy glanced at every single one of them, then turned towards his mother without emotion in his words. Ka-chan, these guys will die. There's no way they can oppose Gato and win. Say what, you little brat. Naruto pointed at Inari with a proud beam. Now listen up. I'm a superhero who's gonna become an awesome ninja named Hokage in the future. I don't know if it's Gato or Chocolat or whatever. I'm not worried about those guys at all. A shadow covered Inari's eyes as he spoke coldly. A hero. Baka Matai asterisk, what an idiot. There's no such thing. What did you say? Naruto ran at him, his haired friend having to stop him. Stop it, Naruto. What are you doing getting angry at a kid? Ignoring the whole thing, the black-haired child walked towards the door after sending them a glance. If you don't want to die, you'd better hurry up and go home. Where are you going? Inari questioned Tazuna at his grandson's retreating figure. The boy opened the door and turned back to answer before leaving. The sea. I'll be looking at the sea. I apologize, said Tazuna after his grandson left. Still having to hold back a growling Naruto who kept glaring the way Inari had left. The next day, just as planned, the shinobi went on their way to the forest to train for the upcoming battle with Zabuza and his mysterious ally. Okay, we will now start the training, announced Kakashi. So, before that, let me again explain chakra for a ninja, from the basics. At this point, sighed Sasuke in annoyance, Naruto smiling beside him. Of course we know about that, Datbeo. Chitara, right? It's chakra. The Junin sighed in exasperation, signaling his female student to explain. Hi, Sakura-kun. Listen, Naruto. It's tiresome, so I'll explain it simply. The Haruno turned towards him and took out a scroll. Chakra is energy that a shinobi needs when he uses a jutsu. It's made up of two energies. 1. Physical energy gathered together from each and every cell in the body, and 2. Spiritual energy accumulated based on numerous trainings and experiences. In other words, jutsu rings out and combines these two energies from within the body, and this is called combining the chakra. Then chakra is activated by forming hand signs. That's exactly right. Iruka-sensei really does have good students, praised the Junin, but that only confused the Uzumaki even more. Whatever. I may not understand difficult explanations, but I'll just learn it with my body. Naruto is absolutely right. Agreed Sasuke with the blonde for the first time. We're already able to use jutsu. Can you really? You mean like that small fireball or a couple of clones? Questioned, Name, crossing her arms as she stared at the boys. Naruto, why do you think that your jutsu back at the academy always failed? That was because you either used too much or too little chakra. The same goes for you, Sasuke. You waste too much chakra every time you do a technique. Observing the genin silently, Kakashi decided to pick up. Well, listen. As Sakura said earlier, to release chakra means to bring out physical and spiritual energy and mix them together within your body. And based on what jutsu you use, the type and amount of chakra that is released will be different. You guys are not using chakra effectively yet. Even if you're able to combine a lot of chakra, if you're not able to control it in a balanced way, the effectiveness of the jutsu not only will be cut in half, but it may not even be activated at all. Wasting energy will prevent you from battling for long periods. These are some of the weaknesses that can occur. Finally understanding the seriousness of the situation, Naruto asked the Junin, chuckling a bit, What should we do? You need to learn to control the chakra with your body. It's difficult training that requires you to put your life on the line to master. He spoke darkly, the genin staring at him in fear. Why do I feel like I've heard this before? Wondered, Name, in confusion. Sakura being the first to ask out loud, What will we do? Kakashi pointed up, tree climbing. Tree climbing? The silver-haired man nodded in confirmation at their reactions. That's right. But it's not just simple tree climbing. You will climb without using your hands. What? How? Sakura gave him a deadpan expression as her teammates just stared quietly. Well, you'll see. Kakashi smiled cheekily, sending the hair-haired ninja a look. Asuka-chan taught you how to do it, right? Name grinned back at him. Yeah, she said, if you are going to be my students, then you have to at least be able to do such a simple thing. That does sound like her. Chuckled the man with a nod of confirmation. Show the others how to do it. With a smile, the girl walked towards the tree, not taking any time to do a hand sign or concentrate her chakra, and walked up the tree normally, stopping once she was head down on a branch. The other genin stared in shock and awe as Name smiled and made a V sign. Hee. Simple, right? She's climbing. Trailed off Naruto, Sakura picking up, perpendicular to the tree and with her feet. Nodding at the princess, the Hitaki turned towards his students. Gather your chakra on the bottom of your feet and make them stick to the tree trunk. If you can use chakra well, you can do things like this. Show TTO mat. How does something like that make you strong? Questioned the pink-haired ninja. Letting out a sigh, the sensei began explaining, so this is the main point. The aim of this training is to accumulate the required amount of combined chakra to the required spot. This is surprisingly difficult even for an expert ninja. The amount of chakra used for tree climbing is very subtle, and the bottoms of the feet are the most difficult place to gather chakra. Anyway, in other words, if you master that control, it will be possible to master any jutsu. In theory, that is. Naruto stared at his sensei in excitement, discarding the theory part. The second aim is to maintain that combined chakra. Ninjas combine the most chakra during battles. Under such situations, control and maintenance of chakra becomes most difficult. Finished Kakashi, turning towards the princess who jumped down beside him. So anyway, nothing's really gonna happen with me saying this and that. You'll need to learn it with your bodies. The Junin took out 3 kunai and threw them in front of each one of his students. Use that kunai to mark how high you make it up the tree. Then use that mark as your goal and try to surpass it. You aren't good enough to walk up from the start, so run and use your momentum to get used to it. You got it? Naruto was the first to grab the kunai, yelling in eagerness, "This training is nothing to me. I could do it before breakfast. After all, I'm the one who's grown the most. Enough with the talk. Pick a tree and hurry up and try to climb it," said Kakashi. The three genin grabbed a kunai and made a hand sign, concentrating as much as they could on gathering their chakra on their feet. They all opened their eyes and sprinted towards the tree in front of them. "Here I go," cried out the blonde, only taking 2 steps before falling on his head. Sasuke stepped up a bit before his foot crushed the trunk below it. With a grunt, the Uchiha marked the spot and landed on the ground and gave a crying Naruto a glance. "I can't believe it would be this hard. Too much chakra and the wood cracks. But too weak and you don't stick at all, and that happens." Well, the difference between Naruto and Sasuke seems about right, thought the sensei as he watched the scene. This is pretty easy. At their teammate's voice, they all looked up. The usually weak and useless Sakura was sitting pretty high up in a branch of her own tree, sticking out her tongue at the boys. The two rivals not believing their eyes. "It looks like the one with the best chakra control is Sakura," stated the Hotake. Naruto cheering joyfully at the Haruno. "Wow. Way to go, Sakura-chan. Just what you'd expect from the girl I set my sights on. But it does sort of tick me off. TCH. She should just fall off and break her neck." A dark cloud covered, name, Kakashi chuckling with a sweat drop beside her. "Women in love are really scary." "Whatever." Sasuke gave no reaction, breaking Sakura's heart and her head fell down. "I wanted Sasuke-kun to notice me. Why does this always happen?" The gray-haired man doing a close eye smile as he decided to use the situation to his advantage. "Well, not only does Sakura have knowledge about chakra, her control and stamina are pretty good. It looks like she might be the closest one to becoming a Hokage, unlike someone else. I guess the Uchiha clan isn't worth much either." "Shut up, sensei. Sasuke-kun won't like me then," growled the pinkette, not taking notice of what the Junin was trying to do. And just as expected, the fire was ignited inside both rivals as they had a stare down, having no desire of losing. Having said that, Naruto and Sasuke, those two have an incredible amount of chakra hidden in them that Sakura can't even match. If this training goes well, this will become an asset to them. Although, Kakashi's dark pools turned towards the princess in deep thought. With their fighting spirit rising, Uzumaki Naruto prepared to go for it again. "I'm going to catch up to Sasuke. I'm going to do it." From the shadows of the trees, Inari observed the shinobi with a glare, then turning around and walking off, his fists tightening as he remembered his father, PFT. That's just a waste of time. Hours passed by and the genin were completely exhausted and covered in dirt from head to toe. Sakura laid against a tree trunk, not having the energy to move a muscle while the other two glared at their trees, still keeping at it. While their female teammate was already able to get pretty high up without much trouble, the two rivals had only gone a little bit up. Their marks being all close together with no signs of improvement. Naruto fell over his head for the 100th time, a huge bump to prove it. Huffing in anger, the blonde walked towards his childhood friend and crouched beside her. Name. Could you give me some tips? Let's keep it a secret from Sasuke. Come on. Mitaku, do you even need to ask? She smiled, patting his hair softly and placed a finger over her lips as she grinned. It will be our little secret. But you better rest soon. Hee. All right. Naruto scratched his head with a blush, having no intention of stopping his training. Meanwhile, Kakashi observed the two smiling kids intently. They're getting stronger and stronger. But just how strong? At any rate, the amount of dormant chakra in those two is probably more than Sasuke's. And it's even more than mine. I look forward to it. I really do. That's all for now. If you enjoy, then please like, share and do comments.